I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramble Man Podcast, episode number 36. This one is with Ashley Wagner of Circle Modern Dance and Brynn Yeager of Momentum Dance Lab. On this episode, we talk about modern dance. Kinda. We do talk about it a lot and how it relates to ballet and what forms there are and all of that jazz. Pun unintended. But it's a good talk. We kind of really stretch the bounds of the rambling part on this. But it's a good talk. We talked for a very long time. It's really enjoyable. If you'd like to know more about Circle Modern Dance and Ashley's work, go to circlemoderndance.com. If you'd like to know more about Brynn's work, go to momentumdancelab.org. Give them the follows on the social media, go to their events. They do great work. I love seeing what they're doing, what they come up with next. We're going to forego a sponsor this week, and I'm going to give a shout out to another podcast that I do. One of my clients on the side is Visit Knoxville. Visit Knoxville has offered me the opportunity to start producing a podcast for them, and it's called Why Knox. It's interviewing interesting people around the town who make this town great. If you'd like to know more about the Why Knox podcast, give it a listen to. Search for Why Knox on any of your podcast platforms. It's WHYKNOX, no space. Should be able to find it. As of right now, there are 4 episodes up. We've got Adam with Alliance Brewing Company, Andy and Eli from Lock and Key Productions, Charlotte from Nourish Knoxville and the Farmers Market, and Kim Bumpus from Visit Knoxville itself. But if you'd like to know more about it, go to visitknoxville.com and just do a search for Why Knox. Again, that's WHYKNOX, or look for it on any of your podcast platform of choice. Without much further ado, here's the episode.
I'm ready.
How many times have you watched Game of Thrones?
Through the entire series. I'm gonna tie you on it. I'm gonna say that it's 8, and I'm gonna have to check with my partner. Okay. Because I don't know.
Does he watch it too?
So yeah, in and out. Like he'll casually watch with me, but
can you casually watch Game of Thrones?
Well, once you've watched it like once or twice, like you've got it. You don't have to like the first time. You have to be staring at the screen, or else you're gonna forget. But I'm not gonna forget now. So
I just thought it was the most awkward segue.
I'm ready. Do it.
So one of my favorite band, I'll just say my favorite band, has been on Game of Thrones. Sigur Rós. From Iceland.
We've actually done a couple of pieces to some Sigur.
I'm going to lean in on this. So you've danced?
Yes.
I can't lean in with the mic stand. It sucks.
That's okay. Is it Rós? So as an actual fan, because we just casually have
Sigur Rós.
Sigur Rós.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Here's a weird fact.
I really thought it was Ross. Like we said too. Ross a lot, but I'll say Rose because
this is a weird humble brag. A friend of mine went to high school with them.
That's awesome.
But it's a friend of mine I've never met.
Hold on. Take it. Aren't they Icelandic?
Yes.
In Iceland.
So back in the day, here now since you've made me feel like an old person. Back in the days of message boards.
Tell us about it, Grandpa.
Yeah.
back in the early days of the Matrix.
Time, so
on the message boards, I was on a comic book message board.
What was your AIM screen name?
What is that?
It was lame. Oh God.
Of course it was lame. That's why.
It was Jody C and then random numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't anything cool. But I will say my name on the message boards. Let's see if you get this reference. Both of you are probably not going. Harvey the Puka.
Harvey the Puka. I don't know what you're
saying. I was
saying.
just listening to a podcast called Lore where they were talking about the pukas.
Okay.
But
Have you ever seen Harvey with James Stewart?
Mm-mm.
Oh, God. He has an imaginary friend who's a 6-foot-tall rabbit who is a puka. So my name was Harvey the puka.
That's
and then
adorable.
underneath, in the movie, at the end, it says, it's just a blank screen. It says Harvey the puka as himself. So underneath my name, it said ... as himself.
That's great.
2 people got that reference.
Hey, I think that's worth it though.
Yeah. And then, but on that message board were people, one of the main artists that the message board was about was from Australia. So I know like 5 or 6 people in Australia that I still keep up with. This is like 2003.
Yeah.
That I still keep up with. A friend in Minnesota that I do another podcast with. And my friend from Iceland who said at a certain point he could hang out with them backstage. He can't hang out with them backstage
Well,
anymore.
I feel like if you're from Iceland, there's not so many of them, right? There's only like, I think it's 320,000 people. I think that's, please look it up because I will be so proud if that's correct.
This is a great...
So like that you're probably...
How many people live in Iceland?
Hold on, yes.
In 2018, the population of Iceland was 350,710.
That's so close. That was so close. Right.
This is a great documentary. This is great for podcasting. This is on Sigur Rós called... I got to very cautiously pronounce this. Haima?
Haima.
It's home.
Yeah.
It's them performing shows around and just like out in the open to the people
Their
of Iceland.
music works so well for
Yeah.
modern and contemporary because a big thing that we kind of don't want is people paying more attention to lyrics than not.
Yeah.
And so like that's a big thing when you're trying to choose your music is it going to be all about like the lyrics or
Right.
the song? And that's really distracting to the work you're trying to do. And I'll just speak, that's just a thing that I try to think about. But if it's like in a really weird accent or in another language,
Yeah.
or like what was the Cinco one that you did? What's
Oh,
that
by the
song
Tune
called?
Yards. It's called
The Tune
Cinco.
Yards. It's really weird
called
stuff.
Cinco.
So like
Yeah.
you can't even really understand what they're saying.
It's
that
poetry.
benefits. I think it adds a lot to a piece. So
It's
Sigur
abstract.
Rós is like it's more
too
abstract.
abstract.
It's really good to choreograph.
So they sing in their own language called
Hopelandic. Yes, it's the coolest. Yes.
Yeah. I was just thinking of another band, but I was like, I think they may be too weird. Have you ever heard of Battles?
Nah.
Are they also?
It's the drummer from Helmet, but here's the best example I can give of Helmet or of Battles. I gave their first CD a copy. Not that that's illegal or anything, because I had a CD drive and I made a copy.
What's that?
Yeah.
doesn't even have a disc drive.
I don't. Why would I own a disc drive?
I gave a CD to a buddy of
Airdrop
mine.
it to me.
Oh my god! Airdrop it. Oh my god! Wow, this hurts. I gave
Box
a
sets don't come
copy
in
to a friend of mine who's a big music nerd, and he said he got about 2/3 through the CD, and his wife walked in and shut off his stereo and said, "You have to stop listening to this.
Yeah.
This is so like it's."
He's got to listen to it in his car.
Yeah, I think they have some stuff. It's if they do vocals, it's usually like way down the list of the sounds, but it may be too. I don't know. So the music you pick, does it have to be a little more low key, or can it be like?
Oh, it can be any.
intense?
I mean,
I wreck the audience.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
really, and Brynn and I both have really different choreographic processes.
Okay.
And it totally depends on what you want. So we were just at, and because Brynn had a beautiful piece in, the
you.
Boss show on Saturday. And that's a really like lyrics driven group. Like a lot of those pieces were the exact
There's a lot
opposite.
more lyrical.
They were totally like
pieces.
down to do everything I just said that I don't really like to do. And that doesn't mean that like I'm disparaging it or anything.
It's
I'm
just a
saying
really different style.
yeah, it's a very different style of doing it. And so they would, what does Michael do? Like that 100% pure love, whatever.
I don't
that
know. He
song's
did a
called.
Carmen Sandiego dance.
But it was
Really?
awesome.
Yeah.
But that's a very that's a very specific, like he wants it done to those lyrics because that's a lot of fun. And it's more about like the whole production of a piece as
Okay.
opposed to like a story about the movement. So if I really want to be if I really want the audience to be focused on the movement that's occurring and we're trying to create more of a story with bodies, then I really don't want people distracted by the soundtrack. And this is a thing that Circle Modern is really cool for, is that they're very cool as a company with just no music at times and
Oh,
some silent
okay.
pieces, which I understand is very uncomfortable for
Yeah.
many audience members, but for I mean, if there's...
It also makes some dancers just crawl out of their skins.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
yeah,
my
it's
students do that. They hate it.
But you can only do, the same, like, routine to a fun, jazzy song that you've heard in your car so many times. Like, that just becomes... for a choreographer, that becomes boring after a while. So then you push the bounds and... I mean, Brynn does that so well. She uses the weirdest shit, man. Like the weird, like. But I'm like, how did you find this song? Like,
it's
Meredith
Monk.
Any of this? Like, no, not for Ruin. Was that for Ruin?
That was for Ruin, yeah.
The one where she
Meredith
did the
Monk.
Tune Yards and.
Tune Yards is great. My mom and I were
Rama
jamming.
Lama. Like, what is that? Where do you even get that?
I was
song?
in a piece to that when I was 15. Not even.
But they're really off the beaten path because.
It's because I have garbage taste in music, so I just listen to the weird stuff. I'm a trash person. I recognize this. I listen.
Tune Yards is I'm not huge into them, but that's not a trash.
No, I do
it's
really
not
like
trash.
Tune Yards. That's one of the goods. And the times that I come across something that's like good, I'm like, oh, gotta make a dance.
That's true.
I will listen. I don't even know.
I was trying to find. There's this weird avant musician named John Zorn.
Mm-hmm.
And my nerdy friends are going to yell at me for this. I can't remember, but he has a piece that is silent. And it's called like 7:12. Like
Stunning.
it's 7 minutes and 12 seconds.
of silence.
And I was trying to find the video to show you. It's literally they just, the orchestra puts down all their instruments. And it's whatever noise is made, that's what that song is.
But is it art?
I've actually, I think that this has actually been described to me before, and I can't, I've got a bunch of band friends, and I'm sure that they'll know what I'm saying, like, immediately, but it was some piano player that walked up to the piano and sat down and did nothing. And just for however long they felt. Is that the same thing? Is that what we're talking?
It's similar.
The same
it's
idea.
in that. That's probably a cover of this song.
Cover
That
and
is
homage.
hilarious.
But that uncomfortability, like that is part of the piece too. Like using stillness, using a moment of silence. I do not think that just looking at people doing tricks is that much fun. Like
I don't know. I like some tricks.
I like
too.
some tricks too. Like
some
I think
tricks.
that I think it's lovely,
for
and
it.
I think particularly if you're like, wow, I admire the athleticism and work that went behind being able to do that trick. But but then I'm admiring the person. Then I'm like, look at what Susie can do. That's awesome. Look at how fit Susie is, as opposed to what did Susie's choreographer actually want me to feel? Nothing. Admiration for Susie's work ethic is probably it. And so, but I find stuff that was intended for the audience to be a little bit uncomfortable or to tell a story, or even if that weighs like there's 1,000 pieces about breakups. So even if you're like sad about a breakup, then at least that's a story.
I really go both ways on that. That because I don't know. I'll sit there and just do like the weirdest possible thing and like conveying my story. But I don't know. I really enjoy pieces that are like, you can lift your leg real high and I'm hype as hell.
Yeah, there was a lot of,
And there's doing it well and there's doing it badly.
Yeah, there's
like when that is used as a tool, especially for non-dancers as an audience, like that makes those. Sometimes I worry that when I make my shit like too like highbrow art, it's not accessible anymore.
You do want people to be able to like get on board and do the things. And I've got a slight little anecdote about this. I've probably done how many? I don't know. I've done a bajillion pieces now, but the very first one that my now husband saw me in was a jewel heist that was silly. Like it was silly. It was so much fun, but it was like a silly, like we pretended to be robbers and Sharon pretended to be a cop and we stole like a jewel thing and it was to an instrument. It was my first Primitive Light.
Oh, your first one.
Yeah,
Okay.
my first Primitive Light. So Andy and I had been together for like 20 minutes. It had not been very long at all. And I was like, I just do this weird dance thing. You don't have to come. It's not a big deal. No worries. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll totally be there. So he came there and this jewel heist piece, which is, kind of that same thing. It's like, oh, here's a trick. Here's a fun little story. It's like really light, really cool, fun girl named Wendy Caldwell did it. Like we had a blast doing that. I was to an instrumental version of Forgot About Dre. It was just so much fun. And I've done a lot of what I feel like are deeper pieces since then and like kind of pained through this and even gotten like in better shape and things like that. Andy's favorite piece is that one. Like if you ask him right now, what's your favorite piece you've ever seen Ashley do or you've ever seen Circle do period, he will still say the jewel heist. Like that's his favorite thing because there's a great Like we need to be accessible to. We need to make things that people really have fun watching. You don't always have to torture them.
No, and that brings people to the table, and then they can start developing like opinions about dance that, I don't know. If I didn't dance, I wouldn't want to watch my stuff. And I really, really mean that. Like, sometimes I make fun, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like my most recent Momentum piece that I did.
Succeed.
Spelled SUCKSEED.
Nice.
About ruining your own life.
Nice.
I did not know it was about that. Yeah, I was in that piece. I did not know.
Oh my God.
Well, it's kind of an upbeat piece, and it's about how I use humor to cope with like anxiety and depression and all that.
That
Like
makes
fun
so
stuff.
much sense.
You're welcome.
This is a thing too. I think we both do this, and I think probably a lot of people do. Got like a very clear vision of what this piece in quotes is about and the story that's happening. Do not tell the dancers.
Oh, I meant to tell y'all.
I don't tell them.
Panic laughter is the vibe of what that piece was supposed to be. Panic laughter. I should have called it Panic Laughter. That would have been clearer, more on the nose. But that was one that was like,
name.
Right? It would have been.
It
was
sounds
a really
like a Bjork song. Panic Laughter.
You're welcome. You can use that, Bjork. I don't care.
Oh, she's a subscriber.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's awesome.
but that was a piece that was like I would call it a jazz. Like that was a jazzier piece. Kind of cuspy between jazz and modern, but like genre is a fallacy anyways.
I'm just picturing a lot of hands.
No,
there were not a lot.
There were no hands.
Damn.
I think the feet did that too.
There were a lot of squats.
So many
That's
squats.
all. I
You sound
definitely
that
got.
with a little bit of.
She didn't have to
There are a
do
lot of
it. Like I
squats.
had to do. Like we would get.
It was so hard.
There were moments in that piece, in the rehearsal process, where I was like, man, if I didn't love Brynn, I would just leave. Like I would be like, I
Right.
can't do that. Like that's you just you are learning really quickly. And if you physically can't do something, like the motivated person in you wants to be like, I can't do it yet. And if I do it 100 times over the next 2 months, then I'll
Right.
definitely be able
and
to
then
do it
I
on
make
stage.
them do it 100 times.
Yeah, and that's
it's really
no,
hard.
it's but like on day one, when the choreographer is like, so here's what you're gonna do, you're like, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
will definitely be doing that. I can't like today,
Right.
and that's hard. That's
I
hard.
really like that process.
No, I like it too.
And
Makes you
I love a
stronger.
really good athletic dance.
Yep.
and
I've been in a couple.
I know,
Prince
I know.
really
And then
athletic.
people are like, then company members
the best
drop it,
revenge
do it,
of that
do it.
ever is that Brynn choreographs these things with like these 4 people, and then one of them moves to Nashville, so then she has to do that thing that she wrote.
She has a look of disgust and stress.
It's not great, but I taught the trio I made a while ago to the Cinco song.
red
I taught
shirts.
it at I taught it at Vine when I was subbing there the other day to the Vine dancers.
Nice, because you're probably gonna have to do it again one day, so you gotta keep that fresh.
Basically, but I was really sore the next day, and we didn't get very far in each class. Like it was, I like to make really hard things. I like to do really hard things. I like to make myself suffer.
Well, a big.
I feel like it's overcoming.
We want to make it artistic and beautiful, and we're all creative and want to have that story that we're telling. But I mean, I keep doing it because it keeps me fit too. Like that's a big piece of it. So if I was just in a piece where I stared at my hands for 10 minutes, then I probably
Wait, so
wouldn't
my boss
be
piece this year?
staring at my hands. Did they stare at
They
me?
legit, like they took their hand, they looked down. They were wearing these huge gray veils over their whole body, like elastic around the middle. And they would raise their hands and kind of look down from their sides, bring them up, and then like raise the elbows, and then raise the hands up to the sky like they're hopeful, and then they would drop because everything they do goes to shit.
And that's a really cool, awesome story. And I like watching things that are a little bit less athletic more, but I definitely like doing.
I
more.
would have a hard time not screwing with them and doing the superstar and being like going like that and then doing that and then doing that.
That's a really fun little piece of I think I did this to you the other day. Like I was like, back up, keep going.
Yeah.
We just walk out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Oh, yeah. I went to
I think that's also when I was threatening to leave.
Sean, photographer Sean.
Yeah.
It was his birthday, and we met up for dinner last night. And somebody got him a Nerf football. I don't know why.
Happy birthday, Sean. You're a wonderful photographer.
But we went out, and one of the guys was like, let's go out to the parking lot and throw. I was like, okay. So we went out there, and I was like, watch this. And I went, hey, man, just keep going along. Just keep going along. and I almost just turned around and walked back into the restaurant just keep. Yeah, I got a good arm.
I'm a little too used to that because I teach high school.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kind of like, you do mess with it a little bit. Like when kids ask me how to spell something, I normally throw a number in there. I'll be like, how do you spell cat? C-A-9-T.
Throw a niner in there. C-A-9-er-T.
My dyslexia is so offended right now. Your girl cannot read.
Well, they're not all great days. Like there's a good, you got to make little jokes for you.
I go back and talk to the kids at Fulton. I went to Fulton.
Oh,
I
cool.
go back and talk to the kids at Fulton a lot. And
Falcons.
And one of the kids, Fulton Falcons. God, we are really rambling. I'm gonna go on a side tangent for a second, but I'll get back there. One of the high school coaches, when I was playing varsity, he was yelling at the JV team during halftime because they were playing so poorly. He talked funny. He was like, I talk like this, Coach LaCava. And he was like, if I were a mighty falcon in the sky, I'd poop on all your heads. Like that was, and then he turned around and smiled at me and winked. I was like, you
Stunning.
dick.
You would get. I don't think you could get away with that today.
No,
They'll
definitely
tweet it.
Oh, he
They'll
had
gram
this.
it.
Oh no, I don't know. I definitely watched some teachers swear at some middle schoolers.
Oh, really?
Nope,
He
not
had
doing
this
that.
Watch
big
some of that.
giant grandpa hard belly, and he would go, when I was young, all of this down here was up here, and I was strong. Anyway, when I go talk to those kids at Fulton, there was one kid that he was like, talk about design or whatever. He's like, I know what you do. I play around in Photoshop. I was like,
Let's go.
And so he sat right next to me, and two of his buddies sat next to him. And I would talk to the class. I was like, yeah, so when I was doing this, you don't need to know. You play around in Photoshop. And his buddies were dying laughing, and he just kept sinking in the seat. And finally, at one point, I turned to him and was like, you realize I went here, right? I'm giving you every bit of a hard time that you should not have said that to me. That's your lesson for
Is
today.
that like when I told you that we make our flyers on Canva? And he got, look, that's the face he made. We met with Darby and I, and we were like, oh yeah, we do all, he said we could do some social media posts as part of the package for the great work that he did with us for Primitive Light. And I was like, oh yeah, we do a lot of our social media on Canva. We're getting pretty good at it. It's the worst.
I don't even know what Canva is. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't do design. I just do photography.
No one that is on Canva is a graphic designer, but it does make you feel like you're doing cool stuff. And I know that you just threw up in your mouth, and I apologize for making that happen. But it's true, though. It is really fun.
I don't know. With Momentum, we just make good us.
Yeah, we've got a pretty awesome graphic designer on the team.
Yeah,
so we
I
just
don't touch that nonsense.
we just send her the text.
If she can't do it, then it does fall to me, and I have to go to Photoshop and just like put some words on a picture for like little ads.
It's a
and
PowerPoint
and it's
slide.
a mistake.
She's saved as a JPEG.
It is not.
That's what I've done. That
You've done
I was
that?
making a joke about myself.
Oh,
Like no.
But this is a thing when you have somebody in the crew that is already good at that, like you never get any better. Like I have not gotten any better at that at all, because it's always like, okay, G'll do that.
She
like
makes
that.
the
I
beautiful
don't.
posters.
Yeah, I don't like.
I've got a friend who's a musician that he's constantly, I'm going to make fun of him here, Adeem, the artist who wrote the theme or performed the theme. It's a Hank Senior song, but he was like, oh, I'll just do that and can't. I was like, dude, and I would, there was one thing I was like, I'm going to show you 15 ways why what you did was wrong.
On Canva?
Yes. I was like, you didn't center the text. You didn't do, like, I
But
ran
it
through.
centers it for you. It's so user friendly.
God. I think this was also like 2 years
Canva,
ago.
if you're listening, sponsor us.
Yeah. Canva, if you want to throw me money, I will never say a nice thing about
Their
you.
headquarters are in Australia. You could go work
Are they
there.
really?
That might not be true. I know, but I think it is.
That's half the battle, right?
No, but I'm pretty
just
sure.
saying shit.
Do you want to ask? I'm not saying Syria. Ask her. Like Iceland.
Wait, that's not a thing Siri's gonna know.
Where is Canva's headquarters? I'll look
It
up.
will.
Okay.
It will.
I don't know.
I mean, Google will know
What's
it.
your password? I'll check it up.
What's your password?
Is
Give it out.
Canva in Australia?
Headquartered in
Oh,
Australia.
I'm sorry. Let me try. It definitely said Canberry.
Oh, it's like
Where is Canva's headquarters?
No, it's gonna think it's a city.
Change it to Canvas. Camel Custom Canvas Shop.
Just keep talking about something else. I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
I know.
I don't know your password. No, thanks. That is also a weird studio quirk. We all end up knowing each other's cell phone credentials because we use our cell phones to play the music so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm. Well,
Oh,
Brynn
there you
doesn't
go.
have a CD drive, so she can't exactly burn
There you go. You're
the
welcome.
things.
And yet we still run the music for every show off my computer. Come
That's
for
true.
me.
That's true.
Why are you atting me?
These do
When?
get like really, we do get just whatever we did last year. They are in Sydney, Australia.
Sweet.
Check. So you can go there and tell them that you hate them.
Yeah. And I would be pissed at him because my friends live in Perth, which is on the opposite
not
side.
close.
No. So I'm be like, hey, I don't like you. And also, you're going to buy me a ticket to go to Perth to
go-
see my real friends.
Stunning.
Like birth.
Oh, my God.
We rambled there.
Yeah, I know. I'm
rambled
trying to
pretty
get
far
back
away.
to where.
We do a lot of our own promo for our events. So I guess
Oh.
that's we can kind of circle it back that way.
I will say I've been on about 30 nonprofit boards and executive committees. Wow.
Do you want to be on ours?
A lot of that is because it's so you'll just teach us how to do social media, or you'll just do some design for. Like I'm on 2 right now that I'm doing a ton of design work for, illustration work for.
Well, it's a tough thing because we came to Momentum or formed Circle or formed Boss or whatever reasons that people go to a company to dance. And you didn't necessarily go to that place because you were really good at making deposits or making promotional things or anything along those lines. So we end up being the production and promotion staff for something that we originally just wanted to dance in. But it's necessary. You can't do that. You can't just, especially not in a town our size. And we have a fantastic, beautiful, wonderful art scene here that I'm super grateful for. Like it's just fantastic. But if we just show up and say, no, I'm an artist, bye, then
Nothing will
then
ever
our
happen.
then our opportunities get dried up. Like we just can't do that or else they won't exist.
As someone who works for himself that has to yell at people to pay me, yes, I completely understand. It's like, well, it's been 45 days. Maybe we think about paying me at this point.
Maybe make that happen.
And I'm in project management hell right now. So, yeah, I just want to make pretty things, and that's not going to
It's
happen.
definitely what we want as well. But you can't just walk around and dance.
No.
I mean, we got
Well, you can,
we
but I
can, but we're not going to be able to
Well, and-
sustain it or have the shows or be in a decent sized theater. And
Yeah.
so we learn. But I mean, I've learned how to
Right.
contact people that have risers. I've learned how to like book a venue and learned how to do
Right.
lots of things that I did not know how to do before. So
And how we met was the Alliance for Better Nonprofits. That
So
they
great.
give sponsorship.
shout out
ABN.
to ABN.
Yeah.
They're the coolest.
They are.
Yeah, that they give. I was on track to talk at 2 events about different things. I think mostly social. Trying to teach people how to help with their social.
Well,
Or-
that ABN really helped us to understand that our problems are not unique and that they end up with a lot of people that are just passionate about a
Right.
thing, whether that's whether it's a
Art,
dance thing or
whether
art
it's-
creation, or if they want to like help children in some way or educate, whatever it is, they got into the nonprofit because they wanted to do that thing and then are just way lacking in the administrative ability.
like
and
Bridge
we're-
Refugee Services, where it's like one person and a bunch of interns,
Yeah.
essentially.
I have a friend who works there.
Oh,
Shout out to Summer.
Yeah,
You're doing
that's
great.
That's something that was sad to hear or sad to kind of realize through working with them that it was so common, but it also made me feel just a lot better.
Right.
'Cause I was like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? Why is the admin so hard? Why do these meetings take whatever? And you get a little frustrated, and then stepping back, realizing that everybody is kind of feeling that way. And then if a nonprofit were, I don't know, super, super well run and had 900 people in it, then that would be fantastic, but it's just not what we're looking at here. So in the meantime, we've got to develop these skills, and ABN just gives you that. which is awesome.
I love my friends at a certain nonprofit that I'm working with, but they run their nonprofit like they all were MBA students. And it kind of fries my brain because it's like, Why are you're making this way overly complicated?
Yeah.
Like this should just be simple. Let's
Just go.
just
simple
cut
with
through.
it.
So it's the flip side. It's
Yeah.
they're making it too complicated. You're like 501c3 paperwork hell, all that mess. Yeah.
Well,
I had to drive to Nashville once.
we had to, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We really needed. I accept full responsibility for that.
You do not.
We filed our tax
Or you
things,
should not.
and we filed them, and it happened, and it worked. And they were like, "Print this page," and I was like, "Nah, it'll be
I'll
fine.
print it later.
I'll print
As
it later,
you would on a computer.
As you would on a computer, because I thought
You
that
don't need to print the thing right then.
I
You're
thought
not
if
near a
I logged
printer.
back into the state's website that filing would be there, which it was for 2 weeks, but then it wasn't anymore. And they said that they don't store them, which still doesn't make sense to me because it's digital.
Get it
Digital.
together, Tennessee.
I feel like the state of Tennessee just needs like Dropbox Pro and like doesn't like they don't. And so, but anyway, I probably should have printed it, but I didn't, and
Whatever,
we needed
you
it for
didn't
a
know.
grant
Now we
deadline
know.
that was like
Yeah,
the next day.
the next day.
And the mailing was like 2 weeks, so Brynn had to go to Nashville.
I drove to Nashville.
get-
Oh my God.
Went to the Capitol, walked in, did the 20-minute parking. Like when
Well,
it's
we
like, yo,
did-
I need this form.
we did
they
get that
handed
grant,
me
though.
the form, and I drove back.
We did, so they had it
I
to
listened
give
to
her,
Harry
which
Potter
means
on
that
disc.
it did exist digitally.
They
I'm
they
still
could
so
have
mad
faxed
about
it to
this
us,
whole kerfuffle.
but no.
Nope.
I'm too OCD.
I do know
in
what
that
faxing is.
opportunity.
I do know what faxing is.
No, I print to PDF on those because I am too OCD.
Yeah,
It's like,
no,
Now we know.
I'm much better about it now.
Now
we know.
Like I've got the PDFs of all of our stuff now.
that's
but
insane.
when you're
Now we know.
thinking along, like the different schools of thought, that made me think of this discussion that Circle Modern had about its yearly December show, and it doesn't, like many dance concerts, doesn't churn out a whole lot of money, but it's so important that the show continues to exist
Right.
because it's an annual. It's like that I think there's been 27 or 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, something like that. And so there's just the existence of the show is more important than making money. But if you like the treasurer is or the promotion person is like, how can we make the most money? Like, how can
Right.
this make profit? How can this help us?
Well, and profit makes the show better. Like you
Profit
can invest
does,
in
yeah.
like higher quality costumes. You can hire another musician because the Primitive Light Show has live music every year,
Right.
and those people have to be paid.
Yeah. And so the show, I think that where we end up falling is profit would be great, but the last handful that I've been a part of, and Brynn and I directed one together
Heck
2
yeah, we
years
did.
ago.
It was so good.
It was great, but our goal, profit is awesome, but we just really want, if the show can cover itself, like the existence of the show is enough. Like that's a big
Right.
dream, like being in a theater, paying choreographers, like paying for a
Paying
photographer,
dancers, maybe
paying for
someday
dancers.
is the
Yeah.
dream.
Like
Yeah.
that, if you can do that, if you can cover your show and you made the show exist, then a lot of times that's enough. Because that's a lot of companies can't even
Right.
get to that level, like be able to, and that doesn't even just mean dance company, any nonprofit, if they put on an event or one of a festival or do whatever, like that is so difficult to do when you have $0
Right.
and the grants are like 6 months out or 9 months out, and you don't know if it's gonna work out that way or if people are gonna come.
Yeah. Nonprofits are weird in that I was president of the local AIGA, American Institute of Graphic Arts chapter, and we were always on a zero budget. So a lot of times it was like, there was one space downtown where it was like, okay, setup fee is going to be $250. This is just for like a speaking engagement. That would be like $10 a ticket. Setup fee's $250. It's $150 an hour, and then it's a $350 cleanup fee afterwards. And I was like, "What does the setup fee include?" Oh, we'll set the chairs out.
You just have to, and you just get to go inside.
I was like, "And what's the breakdown and cleanup fee?" It's like, well, if there's any trash, and then we'll put the chairs up. I was like, we can do that. We have 7
that
of
fee.
us.
We'll
We
do it.
can put chairs out. We've done it before. They're like, no.
no,
I was
that's
like, okay,
protected jobs.
We're not going to do. We're not going to do that. Like, oh no, it wasn't that kind of venue. It was. I should. Screw it. It's a Awaken Coffee just in the back. I was like, you are out of your mind.
We looked at that back room area as a potential one. We did a lot of venue shopping before we ended up settling on the
Finding
square
a
room.
performance venue in Knoxville
really
is
difficult.
the bane of my existence.
And if you want to go to somewhere that's like we looked at, to do nothing in the Jackson terminal, just to walk in is like $5,000. Like that. It's like,
Really?
it's so much money. Yeah. Like it just like, And I know a lot of places will have like a nonprofit rate, but if we're trying to legitimize, then we need to be on a stage like that. And so to find like somewhere that we can afford
with lights,
and you need to be in a big enough venue to hold actual people coming,
to hold people,
like
and also with a stage that is big enough for us to dance on, which is the hardest part. Like we went to places that was like, we have so many music venues in Knoxville that are amazing, but that like have a giant pole in the middle of the stage.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
You can make really creative use of some of it though, which has been kind of cool. Like the Modern Studio, they put Marley down in the middle of that and did the chairs like all around it. Like that was
like
really
interesting.
Cool. So it's fun that they can be adaptive. And I really enjoy kind of creatively looking at spaces and thinking, how can we make the Southern Railway into a dance place or into a place for a dance concert, and so that's fun.
But it's also like not what you want. Like those also aren't the kinds of events that legitimize you as a company, like you said, and that also as an audience member, it's not less appealing as a concept, but I feel like statistically, fewer people like a weird avant-garde setting.
Definitely, you want to. Yeah,
like I'm here to watch a show.
It's a big draw to be able to say like, oh yeah, that's at the Bijou. Oh,
yeah,
that's at that's at the Square Room. Like that's at the Tennessee Theater. Like you want to be able to say that that you can say the venue and people know what it is. Because if you are not doing that, then people have to like kind of explain, and then it becomes this weird artsy thing. But which again, I think we're just talking out of both sides of our mouth a lot here because we love the weird artsy. I will watch like 3 people with no soundtrack in a weird warehouse like any day of the week. I'm down. Like I want that.
And that's fun to do. They're both fun to do. They're just so different, and one of them makes more money also.
Crap. I got to write down something. I can't talk about on mic, but I have an idea.
I'm ready.
Because I'm about to. Okay. A preview is I'm about to start shooting a video series.
Do you need dancers?
In an interesting space, but I think if I tell you the space, you may be in.
Okay. Is it a weird warehouse that?
No. Even weirder. It's even weirder.
Stunning.
Not creepy.
I will dance in a field.
It's indoors. It's indoors.
Some of the best momentum pictures ever taken were in the woods.
We went to Iams Nature Center, and I made them look like fairies in the wilderness.
So what's funny is, like a week or 2 before we shot the photos for Circle Modern, I still have the photos on my phone. Sean and I found all these interesting places at Iams that we were ready to shoot.
I am not a Knoxville native, and I just didn't understand how awesome Iams was until I was like, and I still don't feel like I've really like fully explored it, but we'll
walk my dog.
We'll go.
It's
so gorgeous.
Go up. Have you been to Seven Islands State Birding Park?
No.
Birding Park.
Slept on.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's
Is it by Iams or is it?
No. It's just past Straw Plains.
Okay.
Going east.
Okay.
It's off the beaten path.
Well, that's what you hope in nature.
It's amazing. I went to a Knox Heritage luncheon there that was on the river.
I will go.
It is 7 Islands.
Love it.
I'm gonna write down my video idea.
Okay. For sure.
We're down. I've done lots of different spaces. I think that Brynn can probably speak to that a lot too. Like one of Circle's board members just had a really gorgeous home that had a big green flat spot that we performed in that big spot before, and the Modern Studio was great. And then Circle's always at the Laurel Theater and open streets, man. Like literally, on the streets. Like
I do
it was
really
so
like
much
dancing
fun
outside. The my least favorite part is sound quality when you perform outside. That it's like we have a hard time getting a good sound set up. But it is I don't know. I don't know.
In that vein,
I like them all.
If you could find an old barn, like one of those wedding venues, and do some. I think
if they do weddings, they're going to charge us too much, though.
Okay,
we can't afford to perform in a freaking
barn. That would be interesting.
I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. I've got some strong opinions on this. I feel like we're done with barns as a group.
Yes.
Really? Have you all done them before?
Well, here's no, not as a dance. I just mean just as a society. Like bitches, we're in barns forever. Like 10 years of like people in barns being like, I'm at rustic. And
if a mason jar ever went near a barn, it cost you $100.
And that was what we did forever. But now everyone is married in a warehouse. And I say this with full, I got married in like a
and it was
church.
stunning.
Yeah, no, it was great. But this is going to be in 10 years, somebody that is just as catty as me is going to be like, oh yeah, everyone in the mid 20 teens was just like all getting married in these warehouses and train stations, all industrial. They're so basic. The same way that I am like, look at all those basics in the barns. And I, when planning my wedding, was like, no, I will not get married in a barn. That is so cliche. Knowing full well now that I was just in the second wave of it.
I just want to hear. Can you do that for churches instead? Because I want to hear that.
Churches are just so basic.
I have a really roundabout point here. Because the barns are done, we maybe can afford them. Maybe now we can afford the barns.
But the barn, do y'all do Big Ears? Do y'all go to Big Ears?
Yes.
Okay, so
I see the posters for Big Ears and say, oh, I should go to that.
Do you know Neefnorf?
Yes.
So
no, it's Neef. It's like it's from Chicago, right?
No, he's here.
No, but he like Neef. Wait, hold on. I'm thinking of a different. Maybe I had two conversations. At the same time.
North is a guy who does all these weird musical things that's based here.
Right. Okay. So there was this thing at the KMA that I went to, and it had somebody that was from Neef North there, and then another person that was from like a group in Chicago. Anyway, I'm confusing them, but yes, I have heard of this Neef. It's like a little festival, right? Like they do like a okay.
But they perform at Big Ears. Well, they did something interesting, or they do every year in the Millen Mine. They set up in the middle and on the outskirts, so then people can it's kind of like the John Zorn thing, where people can mill about.
I did an art project like that in art school
and mine while they're there.
Oh my God!
I thought you were gonna go with that too.
Wow!
You just left it fine.
Oh. Go back to talking about Canva, please.
It'll be less painful than what I just said.
But they do something like that. But you were mentioning you need a stage.
Yeah.
But would something like that be interesting where you're kind of amongst the crowd?
Oh, totally.
That is definitely one of those avant-garde pieces that would not make us any money, but we would have a blast doing.
We would love it.
And we do it for fun. Oh, I think that's something important to say is we do this for fun because we enjoy doing it. If we didn't like it, we wouldn't do it, and these things wouldn't exist.
Oh, totally.
So I just want to.
That's why I say
that.
the reason why I mentioned the barn thing, as basic as that is I feel like you can expand there.
Yes.
Like you can leave the doors open
That's
and
how
then
Jacob's
go
Pillow started.
outside.
Yeah.
And
Literally in a barn. Jacob's Pillow, one of the biggest dance festivals in the U.S., started because Jacob was like, first of all, there aren't enough opportunities for men to dance and like not just lift pretty ladies.
Yeah.
And now it's humongous. And you go and you dance outside and you dance in a barn. And so
Folk
iconic.
Moot was like that too. There's like in Asheville every year, there's this dance festival called Folk Moot where a bunch of different countries are represented, and it was just meant to be a little higher. Okay, it was just meant to be people coming to visit, particularly like 2 or 3 different countries, just to some people that lived in Asheville that like wanted their dancer friends from another country to come, and then it just blossomed into this huge thing that's like a 2-week long festival now.
Really?
That's got groups from a ton of different countries, and is really, really cool. And they all do folk dance, like it's all specifically like Slovenian dance or Indian dance, and it's like groups from those places. It's really, really cool. But again, it started really small, like a lot, and Rossini started really small. Like if we're gonna throw Knoxville into that mix, like that was not something that shut down Gay Street and took up all of downtown when it started, like, and now it's this huge thing with 8 stages that have, I think that I just want to shout out to Rossini for how impressive that booking is, because they have, it might not be 8, but it might be like 4 or 5, but they have 45-minute slots that are full on every stage the whole day. Like,
and
that's
those
amazing.
Corn dogs are amazing.
Those deep fried Oreos got me all the way fucked up.
We got to wait until after we perform.
Language. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We have to wait until after we perform to eat the delicious food, or else
but
we'll die on
We're
stage.
closing Rossini this year.
I just laugh because I remember when it was in the early days when it took up like a block in front of the Bijou Theater.
Nothing,
What's that like?
It's really small.
It was wild. It was not very well attended.
No?
It was
It's super well attended.
Yeah, I know. And now,
even when it rains, like last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
when
I remember I had to walk
hard.
out into the audience and say, "Hey, Rain friends, thanks for sticking out our show."
And
Yeah,
people were sticking out our show.
They were.
like 3
people
or 4
still
years
come,
ago, I
yeah.
remember it was like freezing cold and windy as hell.
Everyone's still there.
It wasn't raining, but I like seeing going back to I like seeing the performances out in the open, like right next to the man on the boat. Like they usually set up there and do something interesting.
And there's all kinds of fringe stuff that comes out there too. I think that something that big lends itself to many different acts being there, as opposed to
like it's not just the Italian festival anymore.
Yeah,
it's not
like,
just the opera festival.
there's like LARPing and like sword fighting and like I don't know.
There's usually
there's
a
all
drum
kinds
circle
of,
somewhere.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool little stuff that I watch a lot of dance, but I don't get to see all this other side stuff that wouldn't normally be on my radar.
That's not to keep kissing Big Ear's ass, but that's what I love has always been consistent there. Like it costs so much to go to Big Ears.
It does.
But there's all these other people who have just started up. Like in the early days, the ambient night guys would set up in Java and just anybody could walk in and play. Or now they have they have other ones in like Scruffy City Hall and Pilot Light where they'll just be little pop-up things. Or at the UT Downtown Gallery, they'll show films. Like they still have enough interesting, cool, free stuff to where if you can't afford the ticket, you can still go get some of the ancillary stuff.
That's, I think, a big piece of like Rhythm and Blooms and Dogwood too, is that and Knoxville's just super friendly with that in a way that I just count ourselves really lucky for. Like every first Friday, like, you can just go literally free. Just go see a ton of stuff for free. And that's something that I think is really cool, particularly just around downtown. Like very free art is in lots of different places.
Did you all go, although this drove me nuts, the AIA through that thing where they shut off all, what was it called? Parking Day, where they took all the parking
that was like I remember...
Parking. They took all the parking spots on Gay Street.
People perform in the parking spots.
Yes, or had stuff going on.
That
in each
sounds
one.
so cool.
But they didn't promote it.
Also during the day. If anything's at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm not going.
It was 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on a Friday.
I'm at work. Everyone's at work. No, I'm at work.
They
they're all at work.
Did not shut down Gay Street.
What?
That's like shut down
there
Gay Street.
There were cars driving past performers. That's not safe.
One of my
Safety
idiot
first,
friends,
guys.
God love him, Rob Howard, who was just on,
Somebody
was
got hit by a
filming
car.
on his
Guaranteed.
phone as he was driving through. I was like, "Don't do that, Rob.
I also guarantee somebody got hit by a car.
It's such a cool. It's such a cool idea. That's really. But maybe like the next one will be better. I don't know. Like I bet the first, like you said, the first Rossini wasn't amazing. Like the first parking, but the first Open Streets was pretty small, and now Open Streets is like gotten a lot bigger.
I thought the first Open Streets was there on Central, and it was huge.
Well, it was really long, but they didn't have a lot of. I don't think that it was like super
they
full.
Didn't have like vendors and stuff.
They didn't have a ton, and now, but I like to have faith in maybe those parking spaces will be great. I'll take a day off work if they shut down Gay Street.
I want to reach out to him and say, I want to help you because you didn't promote it. You didn't. Yeah. You're not interactive on social.
I bet that's, if we want to like be really circling back, I bet that's someone who's super passionate about fringe art, about creating artistic spaces that probably struggles with the admin stuff like we all do. Like I bet that's what happened.
So on an ironic twist, I pitched Dogwood Arts to do that during Dogwood Arts Festival 5-6 years ago to shut down. I pronounce it Crutch Park, but I know other people.
It is Crutch Park.
Crutch.
What?
Don't
Says
give me
who?
Are you like? Is it actually Sugar Ross and it's Crutch Park? But you're just trying to like tell me.
Sugar Rose.
But I feel like you are trying to make me look like a fool.
No.
That says Crutch.
Totally.
I got you beat.
Totally
not to make this
Crutch Park.
competition. I don't know if it's Chivo or Chivo because I jokingly refer.
Chivo.
It's Chivo?
I bet it's
So my
Chivo.
friend's mom was in town, and I said, she was like, so we went to Chivo. It's like, it's actually pronounced Chavo. And I had her going, and now I can't remember. That's my penance, I can't remember which
You got to be careful what you make fun of. Like if you say coupon too many times, then that's what you're just going to say.
Okay.
What's a coupon?
Like coupon.
Maryville.
Maryville.
Yes. No.
You're a
I
no.
like you again.
No again.
I like you again.
No, I don't.
He didn't
I don't.
like me.
I don't
I didn't
need.
realize.
I don't need your
You
likes.
said Avatar. I'm just kidding.
I told you I was trash.
It's Merville.
I think that if you look at things phonetically, we would also say bear den as opposed to beer den, and we don't. So, Brynn has her hand up for those that can't.
There's
see
also
her.
a great Scottish band called Bear's Den. It's really good.
No, but I have come across multiple other people that say the voles.
Vols, not
Go
vols.
Vols. Because I know that it is Vols because volunteers. I know this, but I say Vols because my dad says Vols, and like since
This is
he
why you
worked
gotta
there.
be careful
But-
what you make fun of.
But there is a professor who now works at UT who just moved here because she's a biologist and she studies the vole, like the small rodent, the vole.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go teach at a school where the vole is the mascot. And she dead ass moved here and is teaching,
But she
and she
did-
thought it was the vole, and she was so disappointed.
Why is that guy in a coonskin cap and what's
Be
up
a
with the
big-
dog?
What's up with the dog? I think that's like most places though. Like Alabama and the elephant doesn't make a ton of sense.
Auburn.
Like that, and a war eagle.
War eagle and a tiger.
I'm not. I'm not Southern, so I'm gonna go with Maryville.
Am I Southern?
Yeah.
I'm Southern.
I like how you say it that way. I'm Southern.
I was born in Vermont.
I am not
so-
saying. I am not saying that I am better because I am not Southern. I am saying
No,
that
I
is
know.
a reason why I will continue with Maryville.
See, the funny, I've brought this up way too much. I can't hear my accent because I know people in Maynardville.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that's
you have
all.
a lovely accent.
Well,
Lovely
thank you.
accent.
But I can turn it on really
Yeah.
quick,
Oh, for sure.
and it's hilarious when
Nice.
I
I did that a lot when I was a waitress. Like I
Really?
would mimic the accent.
How
of
y'all
whoever was
doing tonight?
Oh, do y'all need some sweet tea? Okay. Like you can really like.
Oh my god,
Dude, that makes your tips so much better.
sweetie! Call everybody sweetie and
Call
honey.
everyone sweetie and honey, and I think this one.
Teaching in a middle school, I do call people honey now.
Yeah, you get
call people honey now.
used to. I say bud a lot. I've got.
I called somebody a buddy, and they're like, "I'm not your buddy." I'm like, "Not anymore."
Well, on that vein, I wouldn't like I waitressed in both Illinois and Tennessee, and I would never call anyone ma'am in Illinois.
No.
Like that because it's insulting.
Hard
like
no
I would
on that.
never.
You're old.
I would never
Ma'ams
say.
are old.
But then I would absolutely say it multiple times. Like here, like it's definitely like a respect term of endearment type of
I
situation.
call everyone ma'am and sir, and if anyone
talked to.
fusses at me, I say I am Southern, and you need to get the hell over it.
Well, I don't know, because I was born in Vermont.
She's a Vermonter.
Yeah, that's and we moved, and then we lived in Virginia for a little bit, and we moved here when I was 6. So I was pretty young. I started first grade here. I did all of my grade school in Tennessee, but for the longest time, I really resisted Southern culture because I, like many people, had the association of Southernism as unintelligence, which is totally classist and like not necessary. And that really once I got to college and was like, ooh, no, that's garbage.
Yeah,
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
think-
y'all is gender
Y'all's a
neutral
fine-
plural.
It's a totally fine thing to
Blessings.
say. So I
like all this stuff.
am
is
not
garbage.
from. I don't currently live in here. Well, or am from anywhere that's particularly extreme. But what I find interesting is that people here, well, I don't want to be too general, but lots of my friends here think that I am from some frozen tundra, like some Yankee craziness. Like I'm from
Yeah.
Central Illinois.
For
Like it's
sure.
not
Right.
crazy. It's 600 miles away. It's not like another planet.
No.
Like it's pretty close. And then my whole family in Illinois thinks I live in like lower Alabama, where like there are like it's
Yeah.
sweltering heat, and like the whole world is different, and they just have all these opinions
Yeah.
about education, and it's just
Yeah.
so I find
It
it
is
interesting that
tepid.
it's both sides,
Yeah.
like
Right.
that. Like Tennesseans have a real strong opinion about like the North, like
do.
the North.
yeah, but
Great
at least
state,
we end it with bless your heart.
but I don't think anyone's actually said
Nobody
that to my
actually
face.
says, "Bless
I
your
don't hear
heart."
that to
Oh.
my
I've only heard it said ironically.
No, this is still one of the funniest things.
Well, all right.
This is there's a buddy of mine, Adrian, who is from California, and he's a gay man. And I jokingly refer to him as a California gay man. I was like, dude, you are not a regular
Specific
gay
genre.
dude. Dude, you have the abs and you wear like
Dang.
these shorts that make me
jealous
very
of the discipline.
uncomfortable, and I want to punch you because you're in such good shape.
Why you look so good though?
Yes. Like he
Why you
when
gotta
he
set
was
the
here,
bar that high?
Him and his boyfriend would run through Market Square, and I would literally be sitting there drinking a beer and
Like you'd have to set your beer
Yeah,
down. Be
no,
like,
I-
need
no.
to go home.
Hell
I don't
no.
know,
I would
lean
go-
in, drink it more.
I'd
You're
go,
already there.
Shut the fuck up, like that as they walk by. Like I love picking them, but he was in Lenore City. Wearing a crop top pink shirt that said "I Heart Boys" on it, with his what's it called, where you have frozen tips,
Frosted?
frosted
Frosted?
tips, frozen tips.
Did does look a little frozen, I guess.
But he was down there. He went to pick up beer, looked down at his shirt, and he said, I thought, oh, shit, I forgot I'm wearing this shirt.
How do you forget you're wearing a pink crop
And he's
top?
going to like freeze his
I
stomach.
have never forgotten.
I wear
So
crop tops
he-
and that happens. Like I lay on the floor in a dance class and I'm wearing a crop top, but the floor is freaking cold.
It's
Oh
true.
my God! But he
That's awesome.
pulled the beer above the covering the shirt,
Yeah.
went up there and paid for the beer. And I said, "But here's the thing: was anybody mean to you?" He's like, "No."
No.
I was like, But I
Not to your
will
face.
guarantee you, the minute that door shut, that
Hateful stuff just
no. I bet she said, "Oh, bless his heart. He
Like I
doesn't
said,
know where he's
hateful
at."
Bless him.
stuff.
Bless his heart. He doesn't know where he's at. No, they were honestly worried about him. Like, bless your heart. There's some redneck boy that's not going to take too kindly to you, but
I'm glad he made it out okay.
it
Safety
just cracks me.
first.
But
Take care
he
of
was
yourself.
scared coming to East Tennessee. He was like, everybody's going to be a gay basher. I was like,
But I think it's
far.
Also, depending on where you go in East Tennessee, like
You can.
I think
Like-
you're gonna find that that's gonna be true no matter where you go, though. But I also
yeah.
think that if there's somewhere that's not, like, I don't know that the world is not exactly as I would have it be. So it's important to go be where change needs to happen. Like that. Like if you want,
Yes.
if you think that the Knoxville dance scene is not big enough, or you think that you need more opportunities to paint, or you want to make movies, then make them here. Like make the scene here what you want it to be.
I always fuss at people when they bitch about this town. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you have two options. You can leave, or you can stay here
Yeah,
and make
fix
it
it.
better.
Like do something
Yeah.
to make it better. Like
Yeah.
that's. I think, but like Brynn recently graduated and felt a similar type of thing that like to stay in Knoxville. Like,
I
do
like
that. Well, you
Knoxville.
can. I mean, I don't want to speak for.
no,
him.
that's okay. I like. I graduated 2 years ago, 3 years
2 or 3.
2 or 3 years
Feels
ago. I
like
don't
it
even
was
know.
yesterday.
We're in between 2 and 3. I don't know. I just really like it here, and there's nowhere else I'm really like itching to be.
Right.
Like there's nowhere.
Like how you dropped the G on the itching.
Itching
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 to
to
be.
be.
Itching to be.
I think Knoxville's great. I mean, my husband and I are both transplants, and
Yeah.
we both came to go to UT. And I came for the school. Like I didn't necessarily come for Knoxville, but really fell in love with it. I think that just thought like I can go to a show like every weekend like that, or like this weekend I went to the Boss show and I took 2 dance classes and I went to the Ice Bears game and it was like gorgeous. And there's a farmer's market I could have gone to. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff to do all the time. I just think it's way cooler than it has like any right to be given its population.
Right.
Like it's just not that big, but there's so
It's
much
bigger than you, because I
Yeah.
keep arguing this with people. Like I think in the city proper, I think we're up to like 500,000 people.
Is that true?
And then
Wait, is that bigger than Sweden?
Is that true? Is that no? Well, we didn't.
Or
It's
with Iceland? Are we bigger than Iceland yet?
and then I think if you count the metro area, it's like over 1 million people.
Is that true?
Because look on the wiki, because I think it's on the wiki based on
The wiki.
Yeah. How long have you been here?
Me?
Ashley?
11 years. I got to UT when I was 17. Oh, so 12 years then. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And how long have
18.
18? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been here like a while.
That's right. Yeah, since you were
6. Moved
Yeah.
here when I was 6.
It says the city is 187,000.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people live in Knox County.
maybe that's what I was looking at. Maybe it's Knox County is like
Knox
400,
County is huge.
400,
too.
500,000,
We
and then
span
Metro.
all-
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like almost 500,000. And that was 2017. It might even be like a little over that now.
Maybe that's what I was
Because
thinking.
we've had a lot of growth in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's the county is 500,000. Then when you count the metro, when you count like Maryville, Oak Ridge, all that, which is still counts because it's just like
Still can.
They have to come
suburbs.
here for
It's
things.
suburbs.
They have to
Well,
come here for anything.
Oak
If
Ridge
you
is
look at-
30,000 people. In case
if you look at like if you look at Chicago, it would probably be the same because there's so many suburbs
Chicagoland
that
is the
touch.
This
Yeah.
is a thing that I harp on a lot. No one is from Chicago. Like they're not. If they
all
are,
my friends moved to Chicago
They-
when I all
Really?
of my friends left Knoxville and went to Chicago to live together,
they
and I'm
moved
like,
away.
That's how.
and that's why
Knox-
Ashley and I are very
Elsie,
good friends now because I was
if
really
you're-
lonely. Elsie, we miss you.
First of all, is that the reason?
No, absolutely.
Step
not.
1, what? Step 2, Elsie, if you're listening, we miss you so much. Our friend Elsie moved to Chicago. We miss her very much.
She was the president of Momentum
She
Dance Lab
was.
for a little bit.
Really?
Beautiful soul, beautiful dancer. Has a beautiful
She's a
little
beautiful baby
in
now.
Chicago now.
The ironic part is that's how Knoxville used to be. You would sit around with people, and
Where you
people were not from.
Not from
They
here.
came here for school
Yep.
and stayed.
Yep.
Like, it was so funny. Like 10 years
I know a lot of
ago,
people who do that.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a restaurant and sitting at the table, and I was like, how many people sitting at this table are from here? And not one.
Nope.
I was the only one. And now it's changed a little bit because I think generationally you're starting to get more people who are sticking around or whatever. But
Well, and I bet a lot of that also has to do with like outreach into rural environments, because a lot of the people that are from Knoxville aren't like living in the city. They're living in like sort of more like the slight, I mean, Knoxville isn't really a rural place, but like more rural areas around Knoxville and Knox County. And those are the people that have like family that's been here for a really long time. And the like communication between like the city and the country in Knoxville and that overlap probably caused a lot of that like staying to happen.
A lot more connected now. Like that. I don't
know
like
that. That was a guess.
But living out, like if you live out in Anderson County, like it seems like it's a world away to come to downtown Knoxville in like the year 2000. But then now we have the internet. Now we have like social media promotion of all these events, and we have people can know what's going on. So I think there's a lot more people coming to Knoxville to do all this cool shit.
But in that vein, it blows my mind because like I have friends that live in some of those expensive houses out past Pellissippi, like out on Hardin Valley. Like I joked that you get off the Hardin Valley exit and you still have to drive 20 minutes to their house. But if you ask them where they're from, they would say, I'm from Knoxville.
Yeah.
I was like,
they
but you're
definitely
probably
do.
in some other county. Like you're in Roane County, Anderson County. No, I'm from Knoxville.
Nope, living in the Knoxville.
Yeah.
That's people will still
I
claim
mean,
it.
you associate with the closest city.
Yeah.
Like I know, one of my friends lives from Spring Hill, Tennessee, which is like 30 minutes south of Nashville, and I'm like, oh, where's that? They're just like, it's like Nashville.
Yeah.
Oak
it is
Ridgers
not.
say they live in Oak Ridge, though. That's,
Yeah.
they are not.
Oak Ridges are posted.
They are not. They're not
And-
claiming at Knoxville.
And
Whatever,
same
you
thing
can-
with a lot of Maryville
That's fine.
people.
We don't want you.
Mary,
either.
yes, there you go. That's so true.
Maryville.
Yes.
The funniest part about that is I have a couple that they live in Greenback, but they're like, we live in Maryville. I was like,
Okay.
you don't live. You live in
What is
Greenback.
Greenback?
What-
Greenback is
That sounds
the
like
first
a slur.
city right out.
It does though.
Is that better or worse than Wartburg? Wartburg
think
is still
that-
my favorite city name.
It's just rough.
It's
buddy.
also a college in Iowa.
Wartburg is?
Yes.
That sounds like a Pennsylvanian thing. Anything that's in Berg, I'm
All
like,
the
it's in
Bergs.
Pennsylvania.
That's true. When I went to
As Germans went to.
visit Pennsylvania with the Bay, I was astounded at all the Bergs, and they just talk about
Oh,
it
yeah.
like, oh yeah, Mechanicsburg and Mercersburg and this
Yeah,
is Berg
all
and
of
all
it.
the Bergs are all over there.
Yeah.
They're all Bergs.
They birds. Wow, it's way
The
too.
crows are back, y'all.
It's
It's
sunny.
spring.
It's way too nice
It
outside.
stopped raining.
Thank God.
Praise be.
Okay, so you've been here. You said 12 years.
I think it's 12 years. Yeah. So I
And
came down
6,
2007.
18 years. Okay. And so you all have actually been here long enough to have seen a lot of change.
Yes.
It's so funny how many people to me have been here like 4 years. They're like, it's changed so much. I was like,
Shut up.
I was like, you have
don't
no
even
idea.
Well,
know.
we even
And even me, it's like back in the day, like Market Square used to have bars on the windows. And
the
yeah,
old, like
and
in the old city was not like
You don't go
a
to the old city.
desirable.
it
place to
came
hang
and
out
gone.
a
It came and
ton,
went when I
not
was in
necessarily the
when I was in
safest.
high school. It was the cool place again,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then it went back down because the funniest part is Jackson Terminal, that little where you walk under to go to the parking lot
That's
on the
where
other
the
side.
Circle
for-
Studio
Yeah,
is.
the Circle Studios right down
Right.
there. Oh yes, you film.
You couldn't walk under that overpass without getting shot or shanked or something.
What?
Like-
Like not even just like
This was
panhandling, like
no.
shot.
This was back in the 90s. This was back in the 90s. Yeah, shot or shanked. I like shanked better.
Shot or shanked.
Well,
Dang.
that would
Yeah, I
really
didn't live here in
hurt
the
our
90s.
class attendance if that was the case.
One of
So,
one of
I'm
the
glad that they don't.
one of the
do that
previous
anymore.
episodes was with Kim, who co-owns Glowing Body Yoga Studio now.
Yeah.
And she said when she used to have to leave there, she would have to palm her keys
Mhm.
because she was afraid.
It's just
and
a good
now
habit
she
to be
walked
into
out.
anyway.
Yeah, do it anyways.
Most
It's
women
like
do-
with
you should do that all the
everything
time.
like Elkmont and the motorcycle shop and Corner Lounge. She was like, now it's like an actual city.
And
like,
I was actually just having this conversation a couple of weeks ago about promotion of events, and I've been with Circle for 6 years, and then Momentum for 3. Is that right? 3 years?
Has to be
4
more than
years?
that. 4.
It doesn't. Whatever. The first one that we did was it seemed like at Circle was a lot easier to promote. And that was the conversation I was having was Circle didn't have to compete with a bunch of other dance companies the way that it does now. And so we really have to plan our events that like, oh, is that the same time as the Go Contemporary show? Is that the same time as this studio that we know gets a huge following at it? Like that we are like trying to plan more around each other, where I don't think that that's always been a concern. And that's even like, that's just in 6 years that we've had to kind of rein in our scheduling of things because we know that so many more people are doing these events.
And that we share an audience.
Yeah.
Like knowing that we share an audience, we try not to split it.
But I'm just always,
football.
I do lots of things though, like go to see like a play, or if you go to a musical, or you go to football, or you go to ice. Like people in the city show up to stuff, and that's awesome. Like people do things, and I know that we are. I mean, we're always hurting. Like we always want a bigger audience and feel like we could bring more people in. But I'm continually impressed with the amount of things people go to.
I fussed
in the city.
Kim on that episode and Peggy at Magpies. I love them both to death. But they had their 10-year anniversary of that little area, right? That the Colorama.
Right.
They threw a 10th anniversary party on the day of a UT home game.
Mistakes.
And I said, I fussed at both of them. And okay, you all understand my pain. Both of them were like,
Ashley understands it the best.
and they were like, oh, nobody who goes to UT football cares about either one of us. I'm like,
you
you're
are
high
so
because you're talking to me.
wrong.
The wrongest
so
thing you've ever
wrong.
said in your whole life. Get you somebody who can do both.
Yeah.
Well, we
Porque
sat
no los dos.
Porque no los dos. That's like my life motto. So Brynn and I had we were at a meeting with another group of dancers and
The momentum
so
board.
I think that I'm sorry. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I have
we
no
need to know. This is a hilarious.
I have
learning
no
curve
idea
for
what
us.
came before it, but somebody made a similar comment like we don't have overlapping audiences, and Brynn goes, "We have people that go to football games sitting at this table. What are you talking about?
Nice.
Like Ashley already has those in her calendar."
Yeah.
Ashley knows.
Oh.
We just checked with Ashley. None of us do, but Ashley knows when the football games are. She knows ahead of time. Like she knows what game she's going to. So we just ask Ashley what's going on.
And I'm not
Thank you for that.
the most giant football fan, but I've got to plan. Like I do a lot. Like and so I want to be able to plan weekends. Like
also, when to drive downtown.
When to drive downtown. Like when are we going to be able to like go to that wedding? Are we going to be able to have a concert at this time? Like, can we take a weekend away here? Like, is this a home game? Like that, you got to be able to, if you're the type of person that's putting things on your calendar 4 or 5 months in advance, which I very much am.
Yeah.
Then
Parking.
like those are so important things.
Parking is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So here, I'll make fun of
Park
my
in
cousin.
Sono. That's my tip for anybody listening.
Sono.
Park in Sono, right off. There's a lot like Kern's Bakery sells $10 spots. You're a half-mile walk from the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to do that, Jody, but that's my tip.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to sound like a elitist snob when I say this, but my dad and I are season ticket holders, and we have a parking pass. So,
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we are lucky.
No, that's
We're
good.
very fortunate.
That's good.
But anytime I've had to park, I just park in the old city and walk that up Central.
It took me, like,
It takes
had to
15, 20
like
minutes
until
to make
I was
that
even
walk.
out of college, like before I realized that like you can walk from UT campus to the old city. Like,
It's an
to things,
adventure.
Like they're like it's
That
a
is a
little.
Yeah, it's a little
adventure, but it's like not very.
Wear your comfy heels.
Yeah.
You're really
I
only
will.
like
I
20
will
or
wear
30
my
minutes
comfy
stroll
Good.
from
Yeah.
most places, or a
Get you
quick
some
little
ankle
run.
support. Get you. Yeah, Ashley and I we live close together now, but we used to live close together in Sono, and Ashley went for a run one time.
I know. I locked myself out of my house.
Going
and
for a run.
Yeah, I went. For
I
a
was
run.
downtown at the farmers market,
and
on a
so
Saturday morning.
I ran to Brynn to get
she
my
ran
key.
to downtown because I had a spare key.
But then it just wasn't very far. Like it was really fun. I walked back though. It was really hot that day. But in any case, like you're pretty close. Like you're pretty close. Yeah. Anyway, and I even live in Cedar Bluff now, and I'm very, like I think I live so far away, but it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's not very.
Us all.
Oh, you mean Pothole City now?
It's rough.
Cheese
out there.
and rice.
You gotta
y'all.
you gotta be careful.
640. Did you see
Stay
when all that rain
mindful.
happened? The 640.
Yeah.
Like there was
Stay present.
there was a video I
Watch
saw
that
where there were 6 cars on one side, 7 on the other because they all hit the same pothole, and it screwed up like the frame of their car.
Yeah, it
like
did.
it busted. I was like, I'm not going to 640.
No.
That's dumb.
It's rough.
I know what lane to be in on I-40 now, just because I have to drive it every
I
day.
do not. If somebody
Center.
wants
Do not
to,
get in the center
No,
lane.
do not
do
get
not.
in the middle, stay on the outsides.
They are awful.
Yeah.
Like at the grocery store.
I'm going to give you another reason. I'm going to circle. Oh, God. I'm going to circle back to,
I like that we keep circling.
yes,
Back.
circle.
Circling. Circle. Do you have some momentum you want to circle back with?
We'll plunge
We're dancing
forward
around the
into
issue a little
Momenta.
bit.
Oh, my. And you're not on social. I can't send people to you to fuss at you for the bad jokes. Like,
Nope.
Why would I
I
want?
know.
That's a tough sell. Like you need to work on your pitch.
I know.
Like if that's what you're.
You can
There's
send
a
it to me. I know my pens are bad.
There's
I have a Facebook.
There's a podcast.
I don't want to say. I'm not like a Luddite. Like I'm not like off the
Listen,
grid.
to,
Like,
I have a Facebook.
I have a
Facebook.
Facebook.
There's a podcast called Dumb People Town where it's got the Sklar brothers. Anytime they make a bad joke, their co-host goes, "That's at Sklar Brothers on Twitter."
Go ahead and.
So my
Let me
cousin Lindsay, who is basic apparently because she got married in a barn,
Got married in a warehouse.
I
I'm
know.
basic too.
she got married. Now she has known us her entire life. Knows we go to every home game. She scheduled her wedding on a UT home game.
This
I said, I fussed at her. I said, there are 8 days you can't have this
But
wedding.
people, like,
There are 8 days.
People are just going to stare at their phones your whole reception. Like that, even if they come, and they will because they love you. Like,
Yeah.
you're still
Yeah,
asking
that's
for
on
a
the-
super
They're going to watch the
That's on
game
the
on
table.
their phone.
That's-
Yeah, like that.
Like they're going to
there's-
watch the game on their phone.
They're going to watch the game, or like at minimum, like a lot of the dates are, or you're going to get less people, or whatever. Like
I'll
it's
give you,
just
because I want to give you one more thing. People coming in from out of town, hotel rates are like triple.
so high,
Yeah.
so high.
It's like you just killed everyone who came in from out of town,
Unkind.
which was 2/3.
A friend of mine
your-
got married the day before the Alabama game, so
Oh,
not on the day, but the
God.
Friday, and
Yeah.
they couldn't get a block. Like they didn't. People just scheduled, like tried to figure it out, but like they couldn't for their wedding night. Like that, where are these two going to stay on Friday night, the night
Yeah.
of their wedding? They're not just going to go back to their house. Like but it was like they could not find one that was
I would
like
just go
under
back to my
$400.
Yeah,
I'm a homebody.
that's when you go.
Bryn's like, can we go home? We
Can we
talked
go
to so
home? I'm
many people
tired.
today.
That's a lie. I'm going to dance the whole time. I will go home at 8 in the morning.
Oh my God.
I know that that's just totally a tangent, but like my photographer.
Your photographer was awesome.
He was awesome. Shout out Scott Temple, you're awesome. At our little meeting afterwards, he was like, who was that redheaded girl that she danced
I danced
for the
the whole
whole
time.
5 hours?
I did. I don't wanna talk
she
to
didn't-
any of you people.
She didn't stop the whole time. It was
Here's
great.
the deal. I don't want to talk to anybody. Like
This is a side perk of being a dancer,
I just wanna
and
dance
I
the
want to.
whole
I
time.
hope this is true for everyone. I don't want to speak for the entire dance community, but every wedding that I go to
Yeah.
is so much more fun because there's so many dancey people.
I just wanna
so
dance the
they're
whole
down to dance, like they're having like really
You
any.
also came over to the moment, like we had a momentum and circle table, like the dancers were all at one table. She assigned us that way. I'm pretty sure I was me and Callie. Callie and me were the people who danced, and all the other dancers were like not down for it. I'm like, y'all are poosty.
They just had to wait. No, that's because Jamie was pregnant.
Jamie was pregnant.
She
Gina
didn't
was
dance,
bored.
so
Lisa
she-
didn't want to dance.
She didn't.
Nobody wanted to dance with
she
me,
was
but Callie
tired.
came and danced with me
You
because she's
get
a real
tired when you're pregnant. I hear.
friend. Oh,
Not,
I guess.
not to. I have to defend my brethren. I am not a dancer.
You can't. Yes, you are.
No, I am way too
Yes, you are.
white. I'm way
No.
too
No,
awkward.
No, that's not
No.
a thing at all.
Step, touch, step.
Everybody
touch,
has
step,
it, like-
touch,
You can
step,
have fun
touch.
You're
without
dancing
dancing.
right now. All of this like
I can't. I don't
arm
want to talk
movement
to
that you're
anybody.
doing.
I cannot. Preferably if there are children there, I will dance with the children.
The way that you enter a room is a dance. Like the way that you live your life is art. Like that's
Man, you haven't seen how awkward as shit I am. Which
That's
is
part
weird.
Excuses.
dance doesn't have
No,
to be
the
smooth
funniest
or
part
beautiful.
about that is how much I played sports from like 4 to God knows when. I boxed.
Nice.
That's me. I'm sorry. Just wait on it.
Oh, here we go. That's the dancing.
Just doing a dance to my phone going off.
Which boxing is literally a dance, but
Yeah, you
I
gotta-
still.
Yeah.
So I can't do.
I wonder if
punching
this-
someone in the.
I wonder if this could go the other way. Like I wonder if the dancers all started boxing, how they would do.
I took martial
compared
arts
to-
growing up, but it was really helpful.
Oh,
for my
Brynn
dance.
would totally win. Well, and
I
there's
would
like,
not.
also there's a couple in Momentum. There's a couple of Sikhs. They're like, and they do
Yeah.
like a lot of like fighting training. I don't want to misspeak here. Like they train with like weapons. Like because that whole thing, it's like the soldier.
Oh, see, I thought that was all
thing.
just metaphor iconography. I didn't know they were actually like.
They
is
like-
Guteras gonna kick my ass?
She will she'll like use a weapon. She probably
Guteras will
won't.
use her
Guteras,
words
if you're
to cut
listening,
me
we're
down.
so sorry. Please tell us what the actual answer is because we don't know. But I
God.
feel
All
like
I
Well-
know is I compliment Rykar's sword necklace every day because it's so pretty.
it's so wonderful.
Everyone who grows up in Israel, you have
Yes.
to. It's
Yeah, the military.
have to serve in the military so they can all kick the shit out
What
of
if
you.
everybody was forced to take 6 months of ballet?
See, my big thing is I would like for everyone in high school to have to work for 6 months in the service industry.
Yes.
I worked
Be
at
real.
Taco Bell in my college years.
You can do food or retail. I'd be happy.
And-
Like if we for
Either.
and either it could be
Either.
either one. But you, I think,
And my
are right.
my
there.
GM was the one who said that. He was like, I think everyone should, because if you work a drive-through during a rush hour at a Taco Bell or a McDonald's, you
If you ever have to do brunch at a Ruby Tuesday,
I have gotten.
you will never be mean to anybody who's working in that environment ever again.
I occasionally don't get charged for my drinks when I go to Taco Bell, and I think it's because I say please and thank you every single time.
I love Taco Bell.
Like I
Don't
feel
you
like
love Taco
I'm
Bell?
No.
I'm like hyper polite to the people in the mic, and I feel like that's why sometimes they don't charge me for my Baja Blast.
Oh my God! I will tell you a funny thing I found
You
out
only get 'em
about when I worked there. So the small cup versus the extra large cup,
Yeah.
every single one of them costs exactly the same. They're all like
Always go big.
all together. No. The opposite.
Okay.
So like the lid, the straw, the paper, the straw is around the straw, the cup itself,
I don't think I
the
understand what you're
ice,
saying.
the Coke, the syrup versus the carbonation, all of that together is like 4 cents.
Uh-huh.
Now this is like 1997
Yeah.
math.
Maybe it's 5 cents.
It's
now.
the same for the small as it is the large. So if extra large. So if you got a small one for 89 cents, you're paying
But you
it
have
doesn't
less
cost them
to-
any more for the extra large, which costs you $1.99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you want to have more to drink.
Yes. But it's
So you
funny
want
to
the
me
big
that
one?
their cost is not
Yeah.
any higher
Yeah.
No,
for the
okay.
extra large because it's so cheap.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
Oh my God. That was something that blew my mind. I was like, wait, they all cost 4 cents? He was like, yeah. Because we mass produce and because all this
Economics
is so
of
cheap.
scale are the
Yeah.
reason that franchises are the best bet if you're going to open up a business.
That may be the
And-
smartest
Thank you for
thing
that
ever
information,
said on
Miss
this
Wagner.
podcast.
You're welcome.
We usually talk about taking pictures.
Unit 4 in the Tennessee Economic Standards.
Oh my God.
Deals with that.
Miss,
Subsection B,
Miss,
I.
I forgot.
Miss
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Oh my God.
I get called Miss and asked if somebody can use the bath. That's half my job.
Can I get a drink of water?
It's not like your last name is very complicated.
Yeah, but I'm an average sized brunette, and I think that 98% of
So you can be
teachers
a-
are that. So I get the students are confused.
Here's something-
They can't tell us apart.
They can't.
Here's something. Here's something you
Brynn's
all.
a redhead, so they'll remember it.
They did.
You
Except
won't-
there was a Miss Yarber that taught in 6th grade. So I got, because my last name's Yeager, and I got called Miss Yarber every day.
It's the college kids who will remember your last name.
Yeah, it is. No, my little brother's name is Jameson Yeager.
It's true.
Wow.
Spelled differently. Like both are spelled differently.
That's
But you just need
hilarious.
to know that. You're welcome, world.
A reference you will not get. You could star in a Star Wars film.
I could star in a Star Wars film?
Yes, because all of them are average size
are.
brunettes,
You
white
look like
women.
Princess Leia.
Like
Hell
if you
yeah.
look at it, that was pointed out by a writer, Mark Bernardin, who's a black man, and he was like,
The type.
"Yeah, they just got another average
pretty-
size.
We're
yeah,
pretty normal. we're pretty much it.
pretty average."
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. I don't know if you guys have watched the Ted Bundy tapes, but
No.
I have.
No, I
No.
can't.
Listen,
I
you don't
can't.
need to. He killed
I
them.
have fear. I don't
Spoiler
need to.
alert, they died. But they keep putting up this wall of women that he killed, and it's like all of
Did
their
they
like
all look just like you?
130 me's. He killed 30 people that looked just like me. And
That's
it was
the name
so
of your autobiography. 30 Me's.
like, it's just a wall.
30 me's, a
like
type.
if I had been,
Yeah, nice.
like if I had been in college during his reign of terror, I would have
been in
died.
terror.
Like that's
Oh my God. I'm still trying to get up the stomach to watch the Michael Jackson 4-part.
can you don't need to. I'm gonna, but you, okay, maybe you should. It was really upsetting.
That
it's
one and
really
the R.
upsetting.
Kelly one.
It's 2 hours of, them just really graphically explaining how they were like abused over and over again, and also shots of their mothers. So it kind of goes back and forth. Like Wade will say, here's what happened, here's the thing, blah, 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 blah. Cut to Wade's mom, where she's like, yeah, we were on this trip and he blinded us, like, imagine your favorite celebrity calls you, like, and wants to talk to you, like, that's how we were tricked. And so it just keeps going back and forth of, like, here's the horror that happened in the bedrooms, and then the moms are like, here's why we let that bedroom door be closed. And it just, it is relentless. It goes on forever.
So here's the weird thing, and I had this conversation with a couple buddies the other night, that when we were talking about that a little bit, I said, I need someone to explain mentally, and I think we figured it out. I was like, when it came to, like, when Bill Cosby, when that came out, and I loved Bill Cosby growing up. I immediately deleted everything from iTunes, took every vinyl and CD, and took them away.
Yeah, I think.
But when it come to, like, R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, I still have R. Kelly and Michael Jackson.
I'm not with you on the R. Kelly, and here's why. I think that Dead has a lot to do with it. Like, I don't. Yeah. I am really bothered now, and I've only watched, like, I watched it like 2 weeks ago or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
And I immediately, like, now when I'm hearing it, get, like, kind of sick. But I can understand how somebody could make that break because he's not benefiting. Like, if you're still rocking R. Kelly, the money's going to go to R. Kelly.
No.
You know?
Like, the CDs I have are shit from high school.
Yeah.
Like, that money is come and gone. Like, but it's the same thing with Bill Cosby.
But there's a lot to be said for the promotion of it too. Like, if you keep it, like, in the zeitgeist, then, like, even if you're not directly giving any money, like, you're keeping it popular and keeping it in your thing.
Promote it. I don't listen
to
it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that I think that's a big difference maker. I think for a lot of people is that it's like, he's not, like, Michael Jackson isn't going to profit anymore.
So
he's
what
dead,
I thought might be the truth was that I feel like we've known about R. Kelly and Michael Jackson longer, so a longer gestation period, whereas Bill Cosby, it just came out of nowhere. But my friend was like, I think it's because Bill Cosby was America's dad, and that's why it really fucked you up.
You felt real betrayed by your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, but R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, it's more like, that's kind of.
I think there's a big. I think there's a gender layer there too. I think that we can't ignore that. Like, if young women get raped, that it's like
kidnapped,
a little
R.
kidnapped,
Kelly.
raped. Like, do the things. It's a different conversation than when then it's like little boys.
Yeah.
And I think that it, like. And I'm not sure if I actually have a point on that. I really don't think that I do, but I certainly think that they're two different conversations. Like, I just don't think they're talked about the same way.
I do also feel the need to insert what I always like to insert whenever we talk about these three cases in particular. These are all African-American men, and that is a trend that I just think we should notice and take into consideration when having these conversations. And that, like, we are, like, as a society, a lot more down to, I can't believe this happened, and also criticize.
So here's
when it's a person of color.
You want to hear other weird layers on this? Is that I grew up in East Knoxville, so I grew up the lone white dude a lot of the time, which I think from everything I know in the black community, Michael Jackson has just kind of been forgiven for a lot of what's happened, or it's like we just don't. It's almost, I hate to say like the Catholic Church, but it's almost like we just don't talk about that.
Yeah, don't talk about the things. Yeah. And people are having a different tolerance. Like, the way that we're interacting with artists is also really different because this idea of their private lives being on display is new in a way. Like, you just never knew, like, how horrible some of these, like, authors or composers or anything, like, did for, millennia. And just in, like, the last 30 years, like, who you were sleeping with became, like, important. Yeah. And is, like, in the conversation about your art now. And so I don't think that we've all really decided where that line is.
I'll tell you a weird one is Bing Crosby. I heard stories from his son about how awful and abusive and drunk he was. And I love White Christmas, but now when I watch it at the end, when the kids are coming together singing, you can see him literally grabbing a kid and almost like picking him up and pulling him over. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was right in front of us the whole time. Like,
well, it'd be like the tolerance level was just so, like, so different back then for what particularly like white males were just like allowed to do. That you can do all the things. Me Too's changing that a lot. I think that people are being held a lot more accountable. But then again, like, where is that line? Like, I mean, obviously, like, if you're sexually assaulting someone. Like nobody is okay with that. But like, where is our interaction with like? I mean,
with interacting with their art.
Kanye West is an asshole.
Oh,
but like his music
abominable.
is so good, and like I can't. And so I mean. Everybody struggles with that. Like, are we? It seems like we're all okay with it. Like, it seems like everyone's like, oh yeah, look at him being a jerk again. But as long like, because he's. I think that I would just kind of to steer the conversation away from like sexual assault like that. Obviously, that's wrong. Like, that's one that we're gonna be like, okay, no, check, got it. But then, I mean, if someone's just a dick, then like, then are you?
Not to get into politics, I was proud of this stupid ass thought I had the other day. But the representative from Detroit who got in trouble for saying about Trump, impeach the motherfucker. Mm-hmm. I said, I wish she would just, every time she got fussed about that, I wish she would just go, grab him by the pussy.
Same, yes.
Like,
absolutely.
just throw that right back.
Throw
like,
that right out there.
I was like,
throw that right.
What's funny is I heard her on an interview and she was like, I'm from Detroit. Motherfucker, it's like everybody.
Second grade vocab. Get on it.
Yeah. But also to act like that language, I don't.
Yeah. My buddy, every time that came up, he would go, whenever it talked about her, he was like, it's just locker room talk. And
that's why do you even need to worry?
Like, oh my God.
They didn't mean to say that. That was just, they didn't. Yeah. Fucking
God, yeah.
So
the R. Kelly, oh my God. Like, I don't. Well, I can't get into, I can't go down that rabbit. Because I also grew up in a house where my dad would be like, they touched a kid or they touched a woman. Cool. Don't take him to jail. We'll take care of him.
Take him to jail. We disagree with you, Dad.
Oh. No, he's like, they won't find him. Like that.
I understand. I misheard. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's like,
no, don't bother taking them to jail because I'm going to jail. Okay.
Yeah, we'll take care of him.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I boxed. Imagine that. And played football and stuff. Now I just blame everything on CTE whenever I forget something.
You blame, I'm sorry, what does
anytime
CTE?
I forget anything, CTE is the head injury.
I was thinking career and technical education.
Yes, that's what I blame it on.
Okay.
Gosh,
I was like, people love those. What are you talking about?
I will totally from here on out blame that. Career and technical
Why would
education.
You blame the welding teacher?
What did he do to you?
He hit me in the head.
Well, I mean, your dad probably took care of it, so.
Yeah, he did. He did. Oh my God. Here's a funny dad story. Victor Ashe. Do you remember Victor Ashe? He was the mayor of Knoxville.
I've been to the park
for a long time. So when I was in middle school, my dad, I know this is hard to imagine, is a big guy, truck driver, big beard. I know this
Where'd
is
you
hard.
get it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Must be from your mom.
I don't know. When I was in middle school, he walked up to Victor Ashe before a city council meeting, and he was in a suit and tie. Dad was not. Dad was in his work clothes, which were boots and shorts, and a T-shirt that was stretched out with oil all over.
Stunning.
He picked up Victor Ashe and started bouncing him and pointed at me and said, "That's my bodyguard." And I was like, "Dad, I think we're going to get shot. Like, I'm in 7th grade.
We're going to get shot."
I was like, "Don't touch him. Like, don't."
Can you imagine, the mayor wasn't even... a wrestler.
Yeah, our
now.
mayor's a wrestler.
Like when he tried that, I wonder if
he'd
he'd try it now that a professional wrestler is.
Okay, I got to find a photo for you.
Okay.
So
of Kane and your father, because I want that.
And
photo.
me.
Awesome.
So my dad is 6'4". I am 6'7". Kane is allegedly. I love calling him Kane too. No, he's not Mayor Jacobs. What the hell are you talking about? He is allegedly 7 feet tall. He is not 7 feet tall.
What's his wrestler name? Is it like Kane the Pain?
No, it's
Something
Kane.
like that?
Kane, it's like like Cain and Abel.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's the spelling, but I feel like that's
technically the Undertaker's brother. Yeah. So he was Kane.
Oh, but there has to be
like you're like Raise Cain, like
Raising Cain. Although isn't that spelled?
I don't know how Mayor Jacobs spells it, but
Mayor Jacobs. No, you're.
I don't know.
But he
so many questions. I have noticed how I have so many questions about this person.
He spelled the wrestler was with a K, right?
The funniest part was there was a guy running for
their dancers too.
Some other office. His last name was Kane, and all that was on his sign was Kane.
And
he had a blue sign. I was like, whoa! His colors were red and black.
Yeah, that's true. He had a mask for a long time.
Oh, stunning.
God, I'm gonna try and
Mystery.
find but yeah, he. Damn it! It's
Dang,
gotta
I really
be
want
in-
Taco Bell now.
We can go to Taco Bell after this.
Yes.
We go to Taco Bell a lot.
Here, while I'm looking this up, I will tell you this fact. So when I worked at Taco Bell, I dropped 120 pounds because I did not like Taco Bell.
Stunning.
I hate that for you.
I went
Yeah.
from 330 to 210
Wow.
in that time. I also shot up
What?
an inch and a half.
What?
That kind of helped.
So were you like a teenager still growing?
How did you
Like-
stop eating cheesy gordita crunches? though?
Cheesy gordito crunches.
Because they didn't have those when I
That's
was
true.
there.
Those are new. That's true.
Is it new?
Yeah, those are kind of new.
You can sub in whatever you want either. Like you don't have to
Damn
have the
it.
beef.
I, as a vegetarian, have Taco Bell is my go-to because you can just put beans
yeah.
on it. Beans on everything.
It's pretty awesome.
Taco Bell blesses
Here we
my
go.
life.
Please work.
We're just gonna keep talking about our favorite Taco Bell menu.
I mean, my
items.
go-to order is just a cheesy bean and rice burrito because it's $1, and I'm a broke ass bitch.
So keep in
Cheesy
mind,
roll-ups,
Dad
please.
is 6'4", I'm 6'7", Kane is 7 feet tall.
He is. Jesus.
Oh yeah, he does look 7 feet tall.
He looks
though.
terrifying.
He is not 7 feet tall. He's
I
like
don't know.
6'9", 6'10". But the funniest part about this is Dad always.
You're
He's
like a
slouching.
little lifted. I think you're trying to be
Yeah.
taller than him.
I'm standing upright. Look at my feet.
He's not
know.
trying to do that.
I think the 7 feet tall probably comes from the announcer, right? They want to say
Oh,
like
yeah.
7
Yeah.
feet tall,
Oh.
500 pounds.
One of my friends,
Like
he
they-
loves saying, he was like, "Oh, you're 6'9". I'm like, "I'm not 6'9". He was like, "In football and basketball terms, you're 6'9". So the funniest is, one thing, he had the biggest damn hand. I got big hands. He got.
Like, look at his shoes.
Just look at that.
Oh no,
That's a-
I've got bigger
Baby
feet than
in
him.
those.
I wear size 16s.
What?
Is that
he-
really
Do you have to go to
inconvenient? Do you have to
Gatlinburg?
like shop online?
I have to shop online.
Yeah.
Oh,
But my dad loves showing this photo and going, "I've never felt smaller in
That's
my life."
awesome. What a privilege.
You talk about weight loss. So my dad there is
Uh-huh.
about 225, 230. He was 437 pounds, and in 2 years lost all that weight.
wow.
Was he like keto or
No, he
I had an
gets
Uber driver tell me about his keto
did
diet
he do
once.
did he do Whole30?
no. He gets up every morning at like 4:30 and walks until
I get
like-
up at 4:30 to go to the gym. Yes, twinsies.
Twinsies.
I do want everybody to know who's listening to this. I am 24 years old. I am not a child. I know I just sound like one, and I'm making fun of you for being old.
Thanks.
I'm just playing
You're
an
doing
angle.
I
I just
You're
needed to
doing great.
announce that.
You're doing
Good job.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great.
This is half our friendship is that we just
Tell each other
tell
that we're
you
doing great.
each other we're doing great.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
You're doing great. Just sometimes
God.
hey, how am I doing? You're doing,
doing
great. You're doing
You're doing great. You are doing.
Yeah.
You're great, and you're doing.
Okay.
We
so,
all need a little positivity there.
Yeah.
If you say it until it's true.
Wow. If that. Selma Hayek will be my wife.
Keep saying it.
Selma Hayek. I've been
You're
saying
doing
that for a
great.
very
Keep
long
saying it.
time. Good Lord.
She's probably like, I mean, she doesn't like really do movies anyway. She probably got free time. She'd come to
I
Knoxville.
think she's also married to
Take a
some
little weekend
Italian
away.
millionaire.
For
so-
now. You don't know.
She's like, I guarantee you there's some giant idiot, bald, bearded dude in East Tennessee.
It's my type.
That's her type.
She probably has 30 pictures of guys that look like you on her wall.
Of Nick Offerman. She's like, if I could only find a taller Nick Offerman.
She doesn't. You don't want to date someone that looks just like you. She wants a. You want a little difference. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's. You'd be exotic.
Somebody made a joke about me and Danny being twins once.
Very funny. That's like in Forrest Gump, where he says like, "Are you two related?"
You're too related.
To Bubba and Forrest.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I've ever been called exotic. That's hilarious.
But if she's like, I mean, you're like American white dudes are exotic. Like if you are,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
And
know.
what is? I do not know. I'm not gonna guess on her ethnicity because I'm gonna. That'll just. I don't
think
know.
she's
Just
from
don't.
Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. I only say that because Robert Rodriguez is from Mexico, and they have the tie from the
Okay.
movie nerddom going down that rabbit
Okay.
hole.
That's some context.
Yeah. Check. Okay.
Hopefully you'll find out before you get married.
Hey, it's okay. I'm fine. There's time. There's always time.
There's because you're doing great.
God. Okay.
I said that to myself in therapy so many times. I mean, I'm doing great, but
I always joke. I've got friends that are like, "I'm fine." I was like, "You shouldn't be saying that through gritted teeth."
no.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
You look like you have a question.
Yeah.
Here come the harding. I've wrote
Okay.
down a couple
Stunning.
questions. What was the first form of dance you got into? Either or.
I don't even remember because my mom is a dancer, and
Okay.
she teaches movement. And I have just always been dancing around. The first form that I know about, I do not remember this, was I had a little dress and this was in Vermont, so I was 2. I had a dress that was like a slip that you wear under dresses, but I called it my chicken dance dress. And they would turn on like a song, and I would dance in my chicken dance dress. And when I turned 7, they put me in modern dance classes.
Okay.
That
So
was it.
never. Okay, wait. You go
There you
ahead,
go.
and then I'll.
I guess so. I mean, I danced a lot like in my living room when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
I was
a
a
lot of that.
really, really hyper kid. Like very, very hyper.
Okay.
But I didn't have we would still rocking a lot of energy.
You've
but
channeled
I don't
that neuroses.
channeled
since
it
then.
into lots of checklists. But I ran around a lot and I danced around a lot, and I was just a really rambunctious, dancy, lively kid that I'm sure was super annoying. But so I did that a lot. We definitely did not have the money for dance. Like I was
Yeah.
not in a studio or anything. But I started doing like color guard, like with marching band
Yeah.
and stuff, when I was in middle school, and then did that all the way through. Like I did it all the way through the UT band and everything too. So farther away? No. Closer? Okay. I went all the way through the UT band doing that. And
Okay.
so I actually didn't start doing modern stuff, like taking those classes until I was like 23 or so. Yeah.
So you're in UT band.
That's right.
So was Josh.
Yeah, I know.
So was
So was-
Hannah Slaughter and James Slaughter.
Yeah,
t-
that's
were
all.
they?
Yeah. We've had
Okay.
lots of fun days. That's how. So Andy was in it too. That's my husband.
Yeah.
He was one of he's quite a bit older than me. Like he was one of Josh's older friends, and I
Okay.
was like one of Josh's younger friends. So then we kind of met
Okay.
through that circle. But yeah, such a fun band crew. But I did that, and then started when I was teaching color guard. I started to feel a little like lacking in the movement and dance side, so I started taking classes at Circle, and then
Okay.
just got super hooked on all of the dance scene, and now I'm
It was
pretty
Nate's
well embedded into it.
Teaching that.
Nate's awesome.
I know.
I love taking
love
classes.
Nate.
Nate is so creative and such a great artistic force.
He's
He's awesome.
God, what can I say that without pissing anybody off? He may be the best drummer in Knoxville.
It's awesome. He's just and can do so much.
Oh, yeah.
like that. Just
Playing
like
in
I
the
think
Bearded,
I think
then
I can
playing
do
jazz
like
music.
4 things really well,
Yeah.
and I think that Nate could probably do 400. I think
And just when it
he's
comes to
just-
drums, like he plays in the Bearded, which is kind of a rednecky band, and then he does jazz. Like it's insane. Like yeah,
a capoeira expert, like
Every time
What
I
is
see
that?
the capoeira
Brazilian
classes-
dance fighting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go.
that's right.
Yeah.
Every time I
forgot-
see the capoeira classes, I'm like, I want to go take them. And Danny says he'll come do them with me, and then
should go do
we
them.
never actually go.
But go.
I know.
There's one today.
I can't go today.
All right.
I teach
Fine.
classes today.
Fine. Okay, so I noticed in there, and God, here's where you all can throw stuff at me. Ballet was never
I did ballet.
okay.
I didn't have the money for that.
Okay.
So no, that's a very like I grew up in a studio type of thing. Like that the people that grow up in studios definitely are like always rocking the ballet classes. Like that's the thing that they
Okay,
do.
so that's not an awful thing to say when people, because I think that's where normal people equate dancing to formal dancing.
It's what's in the media a
not
lot.
formal. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
you're
no,
gonna-
I understand. And a lot of
Yeah.
like Circle offers ballet classes in a big part, even though it's Circle Modern Dance, like we offer 2 ballet classes a week and people love taking those. I think there's a lot of comfort in ballet that if you're kind of a creator and want
Right.
to do a little, and this is I am very uneducated in all this. I'll go ahead and say that right out. So dancers
out.
that are probably
Get
just
out.
yelling that might be listening to this, but they like, I think people come to ballet class because it's always the same. And like if you're
Okay.
like choreographing or creating, maybe you want like a little bit more like creativity and a little less structure, but structure feels so good. And if you are not
does.
dancing all the time or not like on a board and doing stuff like we are, if you just like want to go work out in a way that's not running, like ballet
Right.
classes are so awesome for that.
I so I started modern dance when I was 7, and then jazz when I was 12, and ballet when I was 13. So I came into ballet a little bit later than like what a lot of like intense dance friends did, but we were. I was in a dance company as a child, and we were like, we had to take ballet.
Okay.
Like we had to do ballet, modern, and jazz. And when they offered like the hip hop classes over the summer, we had to take those. Like we didn't have a whole lot of option in what we took. And so much like modern was created in response to ballet. That historically ballet
makes you so strong like that.
Yeah.
And by I don't mean like bulky, like so. It just like all of your technique. Like even modern technique
so much is
like
rooted
based
in it now. Yeah, that like because it arose in response to ballet, they're like, oh, it's rebellious, whatever. But it's actually like kind of derivative of it at
really?
the same time.
Oh, totally,
Like if you're making the contrast to something, there's an automatic relationship between the two, and that jazz is ballet technique. Just sometimes also in parallel like positions. So doing ballet is Okay. So you can approach ballet in a couple different ways. Like if you are a really good ballet dancer, you're a really good ballet dancer and you can do that. Like forever. And you don't do that in Knoxville. You go to Appalachia Ballet to do that in this area anyway. If you are not interested, and then it's really artful and beautiful and storytelling and all of those awesome things. If you are doing something else, you're probably using ballet just as a technique builder, and you do ballet a couple times a week to maintain that technique and that strength. And so it's like rooted in your body when you go to do other things.
Okay.
Does that make
and
sense?
Most of the
so.
warm-ups that we do in any type of like class or before like a rehearsal, like most people are doing some ballet basics like that. We all just go back to it. Like everybody go. And I haven't even like been like fully trained in that. And I still,
you got your pliés.
Like go
in modern, you do a plié sequence. When in ballet, you start the class with like that's where you just band your knees. Is a plié.
Plié means band.
Probably. And that's how you start a ballet class, and you always do a plié series in modern, or it's a part of your warm up anyway. So it's really like modern was created in response to ballet, and that jazz was not created that way. That jazz was mostly started with the American slaves that came in and were bringing like traditional African dancing, and then that sort of met with like ballet technique somewhere down the road, and it became what it is today. And when we think of like Fosse, but
so Fosse is jazz.
Fosse's jazz, yeah.
Okay, but modern has been around.
Catherine Dunham.
Okay.
Is the woman who sort of founded jazz the way we think about it today.
But modern dance has been around a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the aforementioned White Christmas has an entire section on modern. Have y'all seen White Christmas?
Yes.
Well, and there's a lot of varying opinions on like what is modern and what is postmodern and what is postmodern and things
Genre
like
is a fallacy.
But and I know Brynn's kind of making a joke there, but it's true. Like that. I mean, if modern has all of its roots in ballet, then like at what point does it stop being ballet and start being like we can't.
Right.
I mean, you can point to like really like specific like Martha Graham is a modern like group, but even then, like if you watch like those pieces, like that's like there's a ton of ballet in that too. So
and it's like you're pointing your feet. Who did that first?
Yeah,
the Italian Renaissance making ballet.
Catherine de Medici specifically.
What is Twyla Tharp considered?
Twyla Tharp is like modern jazz.
Modern
She's like in
jazz.
the middle. Like what she makes is, I think of her as a modern choreographer, but like my mom would know the answer to this. But Twyla Tharp didn't have like a set technique like Martha Graham or Lester Horton did.
Okay.
That she was more of a choreographer.
Yeah.
In making pieces. Twyla Tharp did Jesus Christ Superstar? No. Twyla Tharp did Hair? Look it up. What did Twyla Tharp do? I know.
Lion King. Lion King was huge for her. I could be wrong on Hair or Jesus, because all I know for JCC is Andrew Lloyd Webber, but that's just the music. That's not the choreography or anything.
She has a classical music. Moving Out. No, I don't think that has a.
I think Moving Out is a more recent one, isn't it?
Works chronolon.
I don't know. Brynn's not going to be able to rest until she can.
So the funny part is, the only reason I know Martha Graham's name is from a Robin Williams bit where he imitates Martha Graham, Fosse, and Twyla Tharp.
Well, there's a lot going on around the world with modern. Like, it's like there's a really big scene in Australia, like with like the development. I'm sorry, with like modern developments and like what we think of. Like, I don't think that America is necessarily doing it like as well as some places like in Europe are, or as because they're just funding the arts a little bit more in those areas.
Is it government grants?
Well, and majoring in dance is a lot easier. And that and I don't know that it's easy anywhere, but like there's literally nowhere in Tennessee where you can minor in dance. Like there's only a couple of places in like can you minor in it at MTSU? Am I saying that?
MTSU has a dance program. I think you can major
in it. But I don't think that you can minor in it. Like I don't. We might have to look this up.
I bet you can.
Darby would be able to answer this question, but it's
hair.
Really
Yes, she did hair.
She did do hair.
She did do hair. I'm like, that has to be. It's either Jesus Christ or her hair.
That's interesting that she's not in outside of dance circles. Like I've never heard. That's weird that you wouldn't hear. Well, she started in hair and yada yada. Well, whenever she's talked about, it's like Lion King was her first. Maybe that's because she also directed Lion King. Maybe that's what it is. You know what it is? It's damn patriarchy. That's what it is.
Always. Usually. There was a commentary on that I saw with this Negro Redux that's coming into Big Ears. Yeah. That, like, we're really excited, and that's super cool. It's just that we see this oftentimes that, like, it's just a lot. It's a male choreographer all the time.
Yeah,
and
dancers like are women and choreographers are men.
Yeah, like they're very like male choreographers. Like will be given like more of like their might be listened to a little bit more, and it's all those little micro things that it's like no one is looking at a male and female choreographer side by side and then just choosing the male and say like it's not overt, but it's these little things that
and men get a lot more attention as dancers.
Tons of time. This is the biggest pet peeve that I have with a company.
They get
like,
leeway.
10 dancers that all have the same ability level. One of them's a male, so then we give him the solo because like that's
he looks different.
It's in band, like it's in color guard, like it's in like modern, it's in ballet, like it's all bullshit.
Or I will cast you in a piece to pick somebody up.
God, I hate to use this term, but is it because he is the minority in the group?
Well, sometimes it'll be featured because you say like I said, what was it, 2 hours ago? That like half of the pieces in the world are about breakups, and so then like if I have 4,
and of course it has to be a heterosexual breakup.
Yeah, it's a heterosexual breakup, obvi, and that's what it's going to be about. And so when I make my stereotypical breakup,
so that means half the dances need to have a man in it.
Full transparency, totally done those, totally doing them, I'm down with it. But
I was in your breakup dance.
It wasn't even my breakup.
I know.
I wrote about it. It was fun. But in any case, that's if you have a male in it, you're like, oh well, then they'll just play the part of the male. Like they'll just do that in the breakup.
Walk in, and I know and like I just want to be super fair. I know so many stunning, beautiful male dancers,
wonderful,
that totally deserve everything that they have worked really hard for. Like I don't want to undermine anything, but I also see a lot of situations where they're like just really generous casting.
I'm gonna give one in particular that left a like really sour taste in my mouth. I think it was 2 years ago. I went to go see Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was beautiful. And it was at the, where do they do those? Tennessee Theater?
Yes, Tennessee Theater.
So I saw the Tennessee Theater, gorgeous production. And this is not even like a Knoxville, like this is like came to Knoxville.
Yeah,
so
traveling.
Obviously, yeah. So high level, everybody's professional dancers. And I mean, the stories, whatever, like I'm really watching choreography because I just really like, and having that eye and watching that. These women are doing the most gorgeous, like really difficult stuff, like absolutely amazing things. But then like Joseph's sons are not necessarily dancers. They're more just like Broadway cast members, and they can all move and do things pretty well. But like these women in the show are doing these gorgeous pieces and all of this like acrobatic, awesome stuff for literally like an hour. And then there's like this 2-minute piece where the 12 sons just like kind of move their bodies around and do like incredibly basic stuff. And the crowd is like going wild. Mm-hmm. Like they don't have to do anything.
Really?
Like the 8 of the
man walks out on stage and you hear the audience respond.
8 men turn around in a circle
Donny
together
Osmond,
at the same time, like everyone's like, oh
anywhere.
My God!
That's anywhere.
I'm making a bad joke.
No, I think it's everywhere though.
It's everywhere.
I was just so like, I don't know. I mean, the show is written the way that it was. There wasn't anything wrong with the show. I was just sitting in the audience, like as an audience member, I was like, are you serious? Like they don't do.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Was the dude that walked out, was he a fool or made a joke or something?
Oh no, I'm talking about the there's like a piece, there's a part in the musical, and somebody that knows this musical way better than me is going to know what I'm talking about.
I know it. Tell me what's up.
It's like where the 12 sons, or how many sons are there?
I think there are 12.
I think there's 12 sons.
Are they like
sorry, we got off the mic.
Were they fighting over
Side
corn?
Conversation.
So I think
or were they talking about dreams?
They were doing something as a group of 12 sons, and in that there's a part where it's
one more star in the heaven.
It's very short, and they all do like a little tiny bit of dance. And I'm really harping on this because but I'm sorry. I know that this is probably super boring.
It sticks in your craw.
It does. It really sticks in it because I just thought it was such a microcosm of everything that is just garbage. And you can be so equal. So one point that I'm particularly proud of from the December show that Circle did was the improv that was with Nate. And this was, I think, a good example of this. Like Nate and Laura Bergamy and Darby O'Connor and myself were in that piece, and all four of us were like equal in it. Okay. And it was great like that. And anytime, and I saw a lot in the Boss show, I saw like a lot of like not just pulling out the male and making them separate. And so anytime that they're just
there wasn't a ton of that,
an actual cast member in it as opposed to like the boy, then it just feels like so much more authentic and not like you just grabbed a dude and said, hey, do some things. Like that's
just shuffle.
If you can just like raise your arm up and down, then we'll be super
She's
impressed.
going to run at you. You're going to pick her up, and you are literally going to walk off the stage.
And
you're missing opportunities. You say, just stand there and look pretty. Just stand there. You dude.
Have you tried smiling more?
You need to look happy to be picking
Oh
up.
my
Smile,
God.
Scott.
Somebody, a woman on Twitter made the joke. Apparently that came out in something like Captain Marvel in the superhero genre. Mm-hmm. And some woman said, if only the Punisher would smile more. And I don't know if y'all know, are y'all comic book people?
Is the Punisher, that was on Netflix, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one with the skull, and he kills everybody.
From The Walking Dead.
And he's always angry.
Yeah.
And they're like, if he had only
I identify.
smile more.
If he
Smile
had
more.
only, yeah.
So people Photoshop smiles, and it looks so much worse.
It looks it's terrifying.
But it was every woman in that thread was like, if he'd only smile. Have you thought about
smiling more?
Yes.
You'd be so much more approachable.
It was the best thread ever because I was like,
Maybe
this looks
people would respect
This
you.
looks terrifying. Like all of this looks terrifying. In it, because the photo shoot, I'm curious. Mm-hmm. Is it? I'm going to assume more female. What is the normal female to male ratio? I'm sure there is no norm.
I would say 19-1.
I know there's no
Momentum
norm.
doesn't have any men.
Zero, like I would say on average, it's like way. So, but then there's that. It's
also,
that
what
whole layer.
genre are you dancing in? Is it
Hip-hop.
modern dance?
Hip hop's like
is
half and half. Yeah.
Right.
Like it's probably a little bit more male dominated as dancers go, just because there's a level of intimidation.
And jazz.
Jazz is probably the same as modern.
Really?
I would say that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's another dumb question that let's take region. Like if you're on Broadway or in New York, does that
If there is
number
a
skew?
yes.
It does
If there's
skew.
a highly like arts and dance centric area, all the people LA right now.
Really?
That's where all the dancers are going right now. Is
Really?
that there's a lot. I mean, like it really depends on what you're doing. If you want to do like concert dance and performing on stage and on Broadway and in like dance companies, then you go to New York or like up in sort of like the Northeast region.
Okay.
If you want to do movies, if you want to do music videos, if you want to be a backup dancer, if you want to like. I want to be a backup Beyonce, call me. But then you go out to LA, which is
You're doing great.
That's
You're doing great.
You're
You're
doing great. You're on your way.
They all saw La La Land and they're like, oh yeah, look, everybody dances out there. They dance on the highway.
Yeah, anything
man.
that you want to do when you're a grown up usually started when you were a kid. And there's just a lot of like, I mean, maybe this 6-year-old boy really would have been great, but like they didn't get snagged at the right time in order to be trained super well.
weren't
So like,
encouraged to
so
do
my
it.
husband's a competitive swim coach. So he
Okay.
coaches very, very, very fast swimmers. And like one of the things that I've learned through like talking with him about it, is that there are Olympians everywhere,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they didn't start when they were 5. Like you have to have like to do anything like that, to make it to the Olympics and anything, you can't start when you're 20. Like that, it has to be that you had the body, you had the money to fund the training,
Right.
and that you started when you frankly could not consent to that level of training.
Oh, God,
like
yeah.
that you're kind of chosen. So it's got to be those 3 things, and you like have a bunch of luck included in that. And so I think the same thing's true with dance. I think there could be there's probably thousands and thousands and thousands of men that have like a perfect like male ballerina body.
Yes.
Or like a great body like for dance, or a desire to, and want to be able to do that. Not that you need that body at all.
Right.
Like you just have to have the desire. Like we said, anybody can. But I'm just talking like that
If you
high
are trying to
ballet
be,
level. Like you
real
need
professional.
You have to start really young, and people are like pushing. But I think it's way better now than it's ever been. But
Yeah. Well,
but
and-
boys are not pushed into that.
Yeah. Well, and I met my partner dancing. That he was the vice
Okay.
president of Boss Dance Company
Okay.
when we started dating.
Yeah, and that's I mean they've got such great insight into
Yeah.
like the hip hop world,
And we
that's-
danced-
It's the
yeah.
dynamic's totally different there.
Yeah.
Like totally different, and like hip
Right.
hop's
Yeah.
like lots and lots of dudes.
Yeah. There's a lot more men, and that with hip hop becoming more like mainstream. I don't think that's quite the right word, but like more accessible, and that
I was
because
going to say acceptable, but accessible.
Hip
yeah.
hop started as like not in studios. Like hip hop was accessible because it was more
it's
of
a regular class in most studios now, but
No.
it's like an addition.
It
like
is.
a little
It's not
extra.
thought of as a staple when it's becoming more of a staple, but also like with the rise of studio hop, hip hop is really changing. And so that's something that is interesting to watch also.
Could a reason be because kids see that as cool?
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
why they
totally.
want to get into. Okay.
For sure.
Not all questions are dumb.
No.
I will say, I hate to keep quoting comedians, but I'm a damn comedy nerd.
Do.
There's this guy, Christian Finnegan, who tells this funny joke. He's like, I guarantee you the top 10 pole vaulters in the world don't know they're the top 10 in the world.
Yeah.
'Cause where do you ever use that?
Where do you ever use it?
And he
Or
was
where
like,
do you find it? Yeah.
well, it says on your it says on your application that you need somebody who can enter the 3rd floor, but there are no stairs and there are no elevator.
Yeah.
Don't have transferable skills.
Yeah. He was like, but I guarantee you that's true. There are 10 people who are the best pole vaulter in the world and have no idea.
They just
No.
you don't get taken for it, and that's
No.
I don't know if that's bigger in the South or not. I guess my like intuitive rate, like I want to lean into the easy answer and say like, oh, a bunch of dads are gonna not let their sons like dance, and that's probably not true to the extent, but I think there's probably a touch of it. Like,
Well,
that's a
but-
little bit more. But I would say like I don't know that if I went to Illinois it'd be any different.
Not
So I don't
even
even know
with
that
just
it
the
is
dads,
regional.
like in school.
Oh
Yeah.
Bullying.
yeah.
Like,
She's
there-
totally
lots of
right. Like that's
Funding is gone.
Funding and like
bullying about it, yeah.
That
Being
like I literally had this conversation with Danny
Oh.
earlier today that at the Boss show he saw 2 people he knew in high school. He didn't know one of them was also dancing and that one of them was a cheerleader. And he's like, if I had known these things and the other people were doing this, I would have started dancing earlier, and I would have had more friends doing the things I wanted to be doing.
And a lot of that comes down to at that age you have zero self-confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you had self-confidence, you'd be like, screw you. I like doing this.
Well, and to go back to our original point about the boy, like if you know you're going to be pulled out into the center, like if I'm just picturing, like if I am a 15-year-old boy that wants to cheer, like I know I'm going to have to stand in the middle. Like
Yes.
if I want to dance, like if you know that you're going to get pulled out to be like the boy on stage, then you're going to be even more hesitant because it's already scary.
But the funniest part to me is, and this does not work well in 2019, is male comedians who are like, oh yeah, I got into theater in high school because that's where all the pretty girls were.
Where all the girls were.
The only reason that I got with Danny was because he didn't give off that vibe. Like he was there to dance, and
Yeah.
he was so unintimidating.
He wasn't there to see the
I get that
mean
one.
it in an awful way,
Yeah.
but it was just like, no, I'm an awkward kid and I
Yeah.
want to meet pretty girls.
Well, I
so I'm
couldn't. I
gonna-
couldn't imagine being around. Like I can't imagine playing on a football team. Like
So-
that seems like so much
Yeah.
aggressive energy, and I'm not like
So
an
the-
unaggressive
I
person, but
haven't
that
experienced
seems like
to talk like that.
Oh, I want to hear it.
I in high school took the weightlifting and conditioning class
Yeah.
instead of the basic gym class.
Awesome.
And I got fit as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I was in the height of dancing every single day. I was taking that and a wellness class. So I took like 2 basically gym classes a day. And I like maybe wasn't eating as much as I should have been at the time because that was really pervasive.
Get you some tacos.
Yeah, give me some, I don't know, maybe 3 meals a day. But I was the only
Therapy and tacos will
Therapy
really
and tacos, y'all. Love yourself.
That's a great album title. Therapy and Tacos.
Brynn and I actually have a podcast now. It's called Therapy and Tacos.
Oh my God.
But
Can
I was the
please
only,
be a guest?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. But I was the only girl in that class. There was a really weird dynamic, and it's a different kind of thing because it wasn't performing.
Yeah.
But I was the only girl in that class, and it did not feel accepting or safe. I got significantly more attention.
Right.
For like some kind, and so how our school worked was there was the gym and then the weightlifting room. Our class happened at the same time as a gym class, so the general gym class was happening, and then our group would go upstairs to the weightlifting room, which was like upstairs. Right. There was like one door in and out, no windows. And the teachers would leave us in there.
Oh shit!
And so I would be by myself in this room
Oh yeah.
And I also know, like, I got to know like which dudes were on which 3 teams at our school and which ones were on steroids.
Yeah.
And just the things that were like said to me in that room.
Oh yeah.
Horrifying.
Oh yeah.
Not safe. Not cool.
Are you saying it was locker room talk?
Yeah, it super duper was. And just the level of physical intimidation that happened was not super great. I would get through the workouts, and because once we finished our workouts, we could go out into the general gym and like hang out with the other class. And so I was always the first one done with the workout.
Oh my God.
Like, deuces, y'all, bye.
You're like, to do curls, you're supposed to do it slow. Don't care. Got to get the hell out of here. Got to get the hell out.
Lots of repetitions with lightweight gets you cut. And that's what I'm going for. Gets you cut. But it was, like, for me, that situation was so uncomfortable because I was the only woman in that space. Right. But I guess that was more of a safety and like issue.
God, the no windows thing is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It smelled so bad also.
And
like, you just need to know.
If something's really
it's
difficult,
teenage boys.
Yeah, it was horrible.
If something's really difficult, like there's already all these barriers. Like that, like I don't want to try to run a marathon because like that looks like super hard. It looks like something that I would have to put a ton of work into.
If any of my friends could do it, you could.
Oh, thanks, Boo. You're
doing great.
If you are already having that barrier, it's like the toughness is the barrier.
Yeah.
So dancing or weightlifting or playing football, like there's already this, okay, this is going to be hard. And so you take this is going to be physically hard and you're going to be emotionally wrecked for safety reasons or for bullying reasons or for whatever to it. Like then like how can we expect him to climb over that wall? Like it's a huge piece, you know?
Yeah. It was weird. Like football was a lot tougher in that you're also dealing with teenage boys that all need to prove that they're better or tough. Also, it's also, but I will say to add on that, you're also talking about Fulton, which a lot of it's a class and wealth inequality issue.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of poor kids that like aren't, I hate to say aren't smart, but because I don't think that's proper English, but I went to Fulton, so it ain't smart. It ain't educated. But it's like, I think that's also part of it. It's like, this is how you stand out, is you be like, oh, you're a pussy. Like, I'll kick the shit out of you,
Well,
stuff like that.
I can see that being something that, like,
Shit
when we
Shit
talk
talk.
about, like, the culture of class, like, a big piece of, like, a big culture of poverty thing, and this is, like,
Yeah.
I teach personal finance, so this is, like, a
Yeah.
thing that we put in there. Like, a culture of upper class is that you are pretty sure that you're going to walk around feeling valued most of the day. And then in middle class, like you create like safety and you create something like that. And then if you're in like a lower socioeconomic class, then there's a good chance that at your job, you don't feel personally fulfilled. And so
or valued.
And so there's a lot more of a tendency to like have aggressive behavior, like to have like, and this actually plays out like this is very tangential. I'm kind of rambling about it, but I think it's so fascinating. It plays out in relationships a lot. So like the possessive nature like romantic relationships
Yeah.
plays out a lot more with people that don't have emotionally satisfying careers. Like we see that play out like a ton. So if you are working in like fast food or anything like that, but shut up, Taco Bell, we love you. But if like that's what you're doing all the time and you're not feeling good about yourself, then like your prowess on the field or your possession of your partner or like your dominance in your family is what becomes like where you find your value. And I think that probably plays a huge role there.
Now I know this is no way endorsing or justifying this, but I heard a sociologist talk on a podcast about catcalling. Mm-hmm. And I know he was a dude and I'm a dude, so take that with a grain of salt. But he was like, catcalling is a wealth inequality issue because they do not feel confident enough in saying, I have money and I can take care of you. Yeah. I am smart and I can take care of you. No, it's I'm yelling at you because it's aggression.
It's
because
also, it's keeping that boundary because when you have, like that's a real sign. Like if I'm getting catcalled, like that is a male saying, remember. Yeah. Like remember that remember that you're a womb. Yeah. Like remember what you're good for. That's a place too. So when you are feeling pressed down or oppressed in any way, like what you a lot of times end up looking for is, okay, so who's below me then?
Turn
like
it
that.
around.
You're not like, oh, how, like, you're like, oh, but I'm not as low as them. Yeah. And that manifests itself a lot in, I think, again, I totally agree that it's a class issue because it's like, I'm a poor man, but at least I'm not a poor woman. Like if I was, look at how much that would suck.
Did you know that in Tennessee, the sex ed curriculum uses the word consent once in the whole thing in reference to the parents consenting to the children taking the course?
Jesus.
So, like, there's that. So with that knowledge, also, like, when then in Tennessee, college students at UT specifically go to work to educate themselves and others through the infamous Sex Week.
Oh, yeah.
That a legislature in our government and through UT just made it so that students will not have a say in what gets funded for UT next year, which is how it was working. It was SPAC, it was a student allocation committee. Like students had a big voice in what got funded, and that is no longer the case. I should know his name, but I do not. There is now one dude who's going to make decisions about what gets funded.
That. Yeah.
And he is not down for the Sex Week.
Doesn't he have some roots in like almost like anti-LGBT?
I'm not going to say yes because I don't know.
I thought that,
but I also would not be surprised.
I thought that was one small angle.
Like I said, I would not be surprised, but I'm not going to say yes to that because I don't actually know, and I don't want to speak on things that I don't know for sure. Yeah. But it really seems to me, and to a lot of people, that is a First Amendment rights issue. That if students now cannot pick what kinds of things they present on or have events on or can gather on and where that university funding comes from, that is just kind of one guy with his opinions making those decisions.
And that's what makes it
who's gonna get sued?
This is like the state's flagship university, public school. Like this is public. Like this shouldn't.
It's also one of those things. You're not even arguing against this one guy because this one guy may be all right. You're arguing against somebody.
I don't think any guy like that. No, and I think it kind of cheapens the argument to say no. We shouldn't let that guy. You shouldn't let any single person be making the decisions.
I just meant you could have somebody come along the same argument three times down the line. So like, no, I don't like any of this. So just X's out. It was like, no, it shouldn't be.
Our whole Constitution is written around fear of tyranny.
Speaking of masculinity, I'm going to mention another comedian, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. He is big on, he's like, there shouldn't be a president. It should be a council of people. He was like, it's the dumbest thing in the world that we all think a popularity contest is what should drive this and should be the most powerful person.
Well, in theory, though, you've got the massive check and balance. Like, But
theory.
those
In
are slowly
theory.
being rolled back since forever.
Everyone hates Trump. I've hated Mitch McConnell for a long time. Yeah.
I don't know. We don't need to go. We don't need to go too far down this rabbit hole.
Okay.
But like, you don't hate the player, man. Like, hate the game. They gotta like. That's what it is. It's like he is now a perpetuator and an accelerant, as Bo puts it. But there's not.
Is that Bo Burnham?
No, Barack Obama.
I'm like,
That's how he's listed in your phone, right, Bo?
He's a perpetuator and accelerant, but ultimately is just a symptom of people not wanting to like be educated about things or wanting that shock jock. Like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like let's make that guy.
That's like David Lynch got in a lot of trouble because he said he thinks there's a chance that Trump may go down as one of the greatest presidents in history. Now, on the surface, that sounds awful, but then if you read the entire thing, it was like, no, because he's showing the fallacies in the government right now.
Yeah.
He was like, he's showing us all the weak parts. He's like, oh, and then he
can just do these things.
Yes, and he
shouldn't be able to just do things.
Yes. He was like, oh no, he's an awful, abysmal human being. I was like, but nobody read that because of the clickbait thing. Everybody's like, oh, he thinks Trump is great.
Oh no,
not in the least.
Yeah, you're just not reading.
Not
TLDR.
Yeah, not to keep circle. I think mine is less about Puritanism. I can't believe I can say that word. And is more about like my grandfather, my dad were very black and white people.
Yeah.
So it's less about that, and it's more about.
But you're an artist. You're not
the
black and
dudes.
white.
I
Like
know.
you're not like that's.
Oh, I'm a lot more black and white than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's more like the guys. I think it's more about the guys than it is about the women.
I think that we are in agreement there without. I don't want to speak for Brynn, but like there's. Like, I think the accountability of like men to men is a lot more important than saying like make sure your skirts.
There's one buddy of mine
long enough.
God, I cannot mention his because he is a very good man, but this troubled me a little bit. This is why I say the black and white thing. When the stuff with Cosby came out, he was like, "Well, I think if we look back, there's." Always been instances with sex or something where it was a little iffy before.
It should not be iffy.
And I said, no, not in the least.
No.
Not in the least. No. That's where the Big Brother thing. It's like, no, because any woman.
This is an incredibly like niche. Like there's like 12 people that are going to understand what I'm like saying. But like the drum corps or like really high level marching band world is like crumbling around like sexual assault allegations right now. And a lot of like this conversation started a couple of years ago, and I'm sure that there were lots of instances before this, but like in particular the Ohio State marching band. And if you're into marching band stuff, like Ohio State's got an incredible program. Like they do really good stuff. Like
screw Ohio State, but
well, I mean, I'm not on board. Like they're like big old dum dums. I'm not on board, but like that marching band's killer. Like it's probably it might be the best one in the country as far as college marching bands go. And like they got in massive trouble for like the rampant sexual abuse that was happening. Like their culture around hazing and the nicknames they would give to each other was huge. And I thought that was like, first of all, not on board with the university, and obviously like as a college band member myself, like real jealous of how like awesome they were. And so I was like, oh yeah, cool, take them down, whatever. Immediate reactions. But then I was very shocked.
Your blood runs orange. Your blood runs
orange. But I was also just very like shocked at the conversation around it, because a lot of my friends that have gone on tour and like marched drum corps or like in different places were like, oh, that's like nothing compared to our rookie talent. Or that stuff's like totally like, yeah, who cares? Like, I mean, the nickname Jew boobs isn't even that bad. Like you can't even imagine like what we called other people like that. Like that was the conversation around it. That like, yeah, I know that girl got that nickname, but like listen to what this girl did like in order to like make this talent night winner thing. I was like really appalled with how that conversation happened. And that was in around like 2015, maybe. I think maybe even like 14. But like, if that was happening like now, even like 5 years later, I don't even think those same people would be having the conversation that way. No. Like, I think we've come much farther in just like believing and thinking that and understanding that like nicknames and jokes and songs and whatever like are all a part of it. Like you don't have to be raping someone to be a part of the problem. And like that's been a big Like that's been a nice thing to see over the last like 5 or 6 years. I think it's gotten a ton better. That like a lot more people are aware of what they're saying and being a little bit more careful and accepting that. I mean, we all share in that. Like that I haven't been this woke this whole time. Like that, I was also part of the problem. Like when I was younger.
It's been interesting because like the hazing thing, like how I got initiated for football was it was raining, and they were like, "All right, Fresh, go run full speed and jump in that puddle." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I ran. Oh, don't. Again, high school boys, man. So I ran. Oh no, it gets worse. So somebody then tripped me into the puddle. I was like, I was jumping into the puddle. Anyway. Black and white. I was jumping into the puddle anyway. Yeah. But I know, guys, like this happened my junior or senior year, when we went away to camp in some small county. They initiated a guy. This is awful. By laying him naked on his back, picking him up by his dick, and shoving a shampoo bottle up his ass.
He was raped.
That's
that's assault. So like that's assault. Like
that's 1995.
Like it's so disgusting. The culture around hazing, and then what makes it so bad is the protection, because it's like the people and like everyone's gonna. It takes so long to come to light because you're all going to protect each other. Yeah. Or it's these really small communities like frats or bands or like football teams or whatever that are not going to like narc on their brothers. And I mean, that's so awful for that guy. Because can you imagine, like, he probably cried about that. Like, he's probably had like a ton of therapy about that. Hopefully, like that he needs it.
Maybe
not.
This was a small county and he was a tiny dude. And it's one of those, it's like, because we've had an issue here recently where we had 2 guys from our high school, one from our class and one from a grade or 2 above us, commit suicide. And it was rough because the one guy who was in our class, I was friends with him, kids, wife, everything seems to be fine. But it could be something like that.
They are not encouraged to talk about it or to express that kind of trauma happens to them. But you can't process.
But on the flip side, I look at like my initiation and in compare exactly what you're saying about the levels. Mine was easy compared to that.
Just because theirs was worse doesn't mean yours wasn't bad.
And
also got very sick and had to miss a game because I was sick as shit because I jumped in the goddamn puddle.
But this whole idea, and I think that I'm gonna Momentum and Circle are lovely organizations for many, many, many reasons. But one of them that I really like is that I have never felt like anybody wanted me to suffer in order to really be a part of the group. And I think that this is a really big thing, I think, particularly like in adult dance groups.
Yes.
That we do not, like, we're very pleased that you're here. Please come work with us. Everybody has the right to dance. Like, please
What can we do to make it easier for you to come and dance with us?
Not like you, which is very much in contrast to a lot of other communities or organizations that somehow would, like, you need to suffer in order to be here.
That's an age thing too. That like that's not the ubiquitous experience of dancing as a child.
I'm sure that there are lots of dance places where what I just said is not going to apply. But for these 2 companies in Knoxville, I can personally attest. Fantastic.
And I know that applies for Boss and Southern Soul
and Grounded too.
Grounded when they come back Grounded.
Come back Grounded. We like your shows.
Yeah, your shows are great.
The Rising Tide Society has the phrase community over competition.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
I love that.
Is
that because rising tides floats all boats?
Yes.
Like that makes sense.
The funniest part.
I know euphemisms.
Brynn knows stuff.
The funniest part is I jokingly in my head have a not a dick list. And my joke is I was like, no, I would like to work with you because you're not a dick.
Seems like you're not a dick.
That so hard.
And it's just great. Like, because the age thing is like, I'm too old to waste my time on somebody who's a piece of shit to me.
Being real mean.
Yeah. Like there's
if it's not fun, you're not going to do it unless you're getting paid a lot.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Oh, there's a buddy of mine that had to do some work for the coal industry. And he was like,
I was like, who's Cole?
Yeah.
Do we know? Is he a dancer?
I don't know. Cole who?
Who says it has to be a he? It's 2019. Woke motherfucker. No.
You're right. Fine.
But they, he was like,
Colleen, don't you know?
Yeah, Colleen. He's like, I don't know how I feel about this. I was like, you know what you need to do? You need to take something from the church. You need to tithe. You need to give a percentage of your money. Because it's one of those, not to be the money was so good that he was like, I work for myself. I can't not do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, tithe. Give to a charity, give 20% to a charity that goes against coal. And he was like, holy shit, I'm going to do that. I was like, good.
Wise advice.
I had a conversation similar
Every
to
once
that.
in a while, I'm smart.
You got a little nugget there.
No, that's something, I don't even remember what it was, but one of my dad's former students he's a lighting designer working, I think I know he was in Vietnam for a bit, but there was like this huge organization that wanted to hire him to do the lights for like an event, and it was going to pay him an obscene amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
But it was something that he was really morally opposed to, and there was like a long conversation had about like what to do when that happens. And it was a similar kind of thing, like they're going to hire somebody to do it.
Yeah.
They might as well hire you, and then you can give back in some way. I don't think, and that's one of those it's not a black and white kind of issue.
Think everybody has a line. Like there was an agency in town that they do a lot of work for a gun store. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, I'm out. Yeah. I'm out. I'm not.
If that doesn't sit right with you, then you should not do it.
No. That's another funny, you talk about bullying and among men and stuff. It's how many of my guy friends are like, well, I don't know gun. I was like, I didn't have a great experience growing up in
but also,
East Knoxville.
They don't have to do it.
No,
like that you should do what you feels like.
That's my point. It's like I was like, you do understand why I don't own guns, because I've had 3 of them put in my face.
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
I'm sorry that happened.
Within an inch of my face.
God.
Yeah. And they're just like, well, I just go out and shoot for fun. It's like, it's not fun
the
for me.
The real key word there was I. So you just enjoy the what you got going on there.
There was one guy I worked with for 5 years. He was a gun nut, and he would refer to himself as a gun nut. It took me 4 years to get him to understand my perspective. And what finally got it was,
away at it.
He was like, well, if the government, I was like, okay, here's how I'm going to win you. I was like, you're belittling everyone in the Army, because if they want you dead, you're dead. You're a fat dude who lives in Dandridge.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
You having 80 million guns doesn't mean shit.
No.
They've
you
got
can only shoot one of them at a time.
Also, drones and snipers, dude. They'll take your ass out if they really want to. And he was like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, dumbass.
You're really concerned about the government taking your, doing what, not even taking it, but like if you're concerned about the government, you should also then go get involved in local politics.
I just don't have
God, we're hitting all the hot button. What are we going to tackle
all
next?
I hope we're all comfortable being quoted on these. I am. I work with kids. I don't know that we need to I know that you didn't really ask my stance on guns, but I work with students every day, and I had to do 4-hour active shooter training where they actually shot guns in the school, because in addition to teaching kids what cost push inflation is, I have to make sure that they're alive.
But you need a gun.
But that's
you need a gun, right?
And that even more they'll break anything. They'll break any rule that you put in place because they're kids and that's what they do. And so if you say the bathrooms you can only go the first 10 minutes to the restroom,
they wait
then
until
they'll
the
go
11th
11. They're always going to push no matter how small. And so they're going to push that rule too, and somebody's going to get a gun taken from them, and then a kid's going to die. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen. And it's probably won't be mine, because I'm I'm in a good school that is fun, and I feel okay. But have you met teachers during May, dude? Yeah. They're also not there's a bell curve of goodness and stability there as well. We're all taking a lot on faith here, that every teacher can handle that. It's so absurd. I'd probably leave. Honestly,
students
if I
get
was
threatened by teachers, that's not a regular occurrence.
If I was required to
school.
carry a gun, I might consider not continuing with the work anymore. I probably
so
wouldn't.
There was one of our teachers who snapped and threw a kid into a wall when I was in high
humans
school.
too. That
Teachers
break,
have hurt students, and that is this idealization of any. Okay, so I worked for 4 months as the dance teacher at Vine Middle School. I'm a substitute teacher.
Okay.
I am not a certified teacher at all, but I've been teaching dance for a really long time, and so I was teaching there until they could find somebody full-time. And shit, I was going somewhere.
You were stressed and unhinged at times and couldn't handle the...
I threw a kid into a wall. Teachers are humans too.
That's it. No, that's it. Sorry. And while I was there,
I try to help.
Thank you. While I was there, I personally had people come up to me and hug me and thank me for like teaching their children, and that like I was assumed this like angel person, which is bullshit. Like I am not an angel person.
Well, it doesn't.
And
you're gonna, if you're talking about like a bank branch or an accounting firm or a photography firm or anything, like there's somebody there that's the worst person there. Like there's the worst person at Taco Bell, like that. And like if we make really sweeping generalizations about like what those people can handle, I understand that I'm like really rambling and just kind of talking about my own beliefs now, but like I think like
you ought to hear the segue I'm about to go on.
I'm ready for it.
Rough.
I'm ready
so
for it.
excited.
Like I have to think about our plan every day because that's how I make sure that if it does happen, I'm going to enact it. So like when I arrive at school, I tell myself, and I'm not going to tell the plan because I don't know who's listening, but I have to tell myself every day, I'm like, okay, I'll do A and then B and then C. And if they come from that way, then I'll do A and then B and then C. And then I have to do that. And the fact that that's a part of my life now that super shouldn't be is enough for me to not think that there's any good reason.
Damn it. Okay.
Because I'm preparing for someone to not die.
I've got like 2 hops to get to the segue.
I'm excited.
The ironic part is because I grew up how I did, that's how I live my life. Like there was and because I'm big.
what is the way out? What is the way to protect yourself?
Because I'm big, here's a weird factoid. Because I'm big and because I'm in the South, 45% of dudes are scared of me. 45% of dudes want to fight me to prove
Looking
they're
for a fight. Yes,
and
right.
90% of women are afraid of you.
And
Just throw that on in there.
No,
Robert.
I'll give you another one. Oh shit, you're adding another.
She got an extra hop.
Yeah, you just got an extra.
Hops a lot.
And then wait, 45, 10% don't give a shit, and those are my friends.
Yeah.
Because there was a time I was walking in Maryville, walking past a bar, and I watched a little guy ready to fight me, like literally gripping his beer bottle, and I had to watch him in the glass as I walked by because he's like, he's going to hit me at that fucking beer bottle, and I was like, what he doesn't know is same thing. You're drunk. This is not going to end well for you. I am completely sober.
Well, and fear makes you do weird things.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, shit. Now I'm trying to remember my hops. Big women. The funniest
Big
part.
women. That's what you just said.
Oh my God.
So new topic. Big women.
Big women. No. You talk about I cannot fight back.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of instances.
Well, so who's going to get in trouble for that?
Yeah, that's true.
I can point
totally
to
see that.
2 things that happen within a week. And one that here's the males. There's also a weird male side of this. Sure. And then one instance I've been talking about a lot recently. I had a woman grab me at a show. She was drunk. She shook my hand and she started rubbing the back of my arms on her boobs. And guys, it's like, well,
that's
you
assault.
enjoyed that.
No, that's assault.
I was
also
like,
yeah.
And then the other one was I was at an event, photographing an event, and an older lady literally pushed me up against a wall, rubbing my chest.
Once again, that's assault.
You can't do that.
I put my hands in my
touch
pockets
people.
because I'm like, I'm a giant dude. I literally can't do anything.
No.
Take 2 steps back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in a wall. I
Yeah.
can't.
No,
No, but that's what I would say. Like that.
Yes.
But then you come off as like the aggressive dude.
Yeah.
That's super messed up, dude. Like that's not okay.
Although, and then I was at an event, and there's this. I'm going to put air quotes around friend of mine. Whenever she gets drunk, or actually anytime, she decides I'm a giant asshole. And I'm not a giant asshole. That's just her story and her brain. She backed me into a corner and was poking me in the chest. And her husband was behind her drunk, who was sobering up going, please don't do this.
Yeah,
please don't do it. Trying to pull her off of me. I had done nothing. Just put my hands in my pockets. I'm like, can't do anything here.
Really unfair.
And there's part of me, I'm saying this as a dumbass. I'm not saying this. This is really what happened. I was like,
you're not dumb.
You need to pull her off of me because I'm going to take you outside to the husband. That's the joking. Like, I'm not going to do that. But, but it's also, I don't do that because that makes me the asshole.
Because then you're actually an asshole and you're affirming.
But that's happened. And I'm not saying woe is me. Here's the leapfrog I added because of that. My friend Dale Mackey, Dale's Fried Pies, Sean's wife. Sean, the photographer's wife. She's awesome. Tiny woman from Chicago.
Nice. Dale's fried pies are delicious.
She had a moment of clarity like 4 months ago, and when we were sitting there, I've known her for like 7 or 8 years, and and I've probably said this on this podcast before. She said, I just realized something. She said, I am a tiny woman, but I have to project like I'm your size to prove, because her name is Dale. So there's a lot of guys that come in there. It's like, I need to talk to your husband about business.
Can you let me know when the owner gets here, ma'am?
Which, there's the black and white side. It's like, that's fucking dumb. Anyway.
Hot garbage.
Yeah. So, but then she said, and you have to project like you're my size to put people at ease.
Yeah.
And I said, welcome to 7 years ago,
do you
Dale.
have bad posture at times? Like you lean down?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like
physically
down
shrinking?
to talk to people.
When I walk into a room, I usually walk around the edge or something.
Yeah.
I don't make an announcement. Sure. I have to very carefully. And there's a lot of times, like dating and stuff, I'm like, the big brother, I'm walking you back to your car.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're going to be okay. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't protect yourself, but I'm also 6'7" and 285 pounds.
I'm here to help. As long as, not that you needed it, but as long as I'm here.
I'm also a giant shield to where if anybody sees me with you, the chances, there's that 45% chance they're going to try something.
A little lower.
It's a little lower. But it's also like, I'm also going to stay the fuck away from you to make sure you're comfortable and not...
Yeah, riding that balance of like, how do I like assist in this, but also not be a part of what I'm trying to like assist against. What this reminds me a lot of is this sort of like, I feel like I need to, or how you feel like you need to sort of shrink yourself and present this way. Like, sounds a lot like how Black people feel they need to be when the cops are around.
But they have to be like more demure,
presenting as so unthreatening.
Oh, yeah. When I was 10
years old, that's definitely
So I wanted
true.
to just call out that parallel.
When I was 10 years old, I was playing on a friend of mine's front yard. Black kid, white kid. For the podcast listener, I pointed to imaginary person as the black person and me as the white person.
How you know?
I am white. I know that's hard to imagine. But a cop came up and was giving him shit for no reason, and he went flat. Because that's not flat on the ground, but just like docile.
Yeah.
And I went up and started kicking the cop in the goddamn shin because I'm a white kid. And I'm just like...
Not that there's anything wrong with being a cop. That's not sad.
It's
Shout out
not
to cops. You're doing great.
Bucking up against this. It's the marketing side of my brain. I wish we had a different word, but I can't figure it than privilege. Because there are poor white people who are like, I'm not privileged. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, you totally are, though.
that is the correct word.
Yeah.
I understand, but just from an English and a marketing perspective, I was like, I wish there was another word.
Because what I'm hearing,
they could have buy-in.
What I'm hearing you say is that the like layman understanding of privilege is money.
Yes.
And we are trying to create a conversation.
Having money is definitely part of privilege.
It is a version of privilege, but it is not.
There are other versions.
There are way more.
The best example I can give is I can speed on the interstate and not worry about getting murdered.
Totally. Yeah.
Like I'll get a ticket.
Yeah.
I won't get murdered.
I can understand what you're saying with the marketing, but the same way it's
the PR. It's
but the same way it's not short skirt girl's problem. It's KUB dude's problem. Like it's poor people's problem. I like to understand that they're also privileged.
I also want to help the poor people to be like, no, to fuss at the people that are privileged to be like, you're, it's here and here. And all the people selling you the bill of goods are here.
Yeah.
That's what more... Yeah. Oh, God, great podcasting.
But we can't have...
Great podcasting. There was a very clear ladder with your hands just then.
I think it's just literally a marketing and PR, like a... what's it called? Not optics. It's an optics thing because it's... we can go down there and have a hole of the market. Yeah. But it's just... I wish there was a better word... other than that didn't have the connotations of
I get that.
Wealthy.
I get that. Like that we should make the language of social justice more accessible to those that it applies to.
Because it's the whole thing about like when the ACA, I really work hard not to call it Obamacare because I fucking hate that term. But the ACA, the governor in Kentucky just changed the name of it. And a lot of the people who voted for Trump were like, no, we're still going to get our insurance because it's not Obamacare.
The original Obamacare was like Romney Care. I know. Like it was like designed by...
But it's like, okay, all you poor people who voted for
but
this
also
person...
it's Medicare and Medicaid. Like it doesn't even...
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know that I'm just like preaching. I'm sure that...
Yeah.
Like any... I mean... It's not even worth like yelling about, but it's like, I know government health care is bullshit. Oh wait, unless it's Medicare and Medicaid, which take up 70% of the federal budget. But no. That's mandatory spending, not overall budget. But they take up, like, it's already there, but it's like, it's not okay unless you're 55. Like, no. Then that's not government funded healthcare. Like, yes, it is though. I don't like that's. It's already been there. It's already been there forever.
I've gone into the weeds on that of like, you do realize it costs more for somebody without insurance to go to the emergency room. That's screwing you longer term than actually giving that person insurance.
Totally.
Like, yeah.
We're just
I'm not going to be able to leap.
We're just like a little echo chamber here with it.
I'm going to try and touch the edge of the leapfrog, like to get there. I think when I think of guns in school, I'm going back a little bit. Go back. There's some part of guns that I'm okay with. I was like, if you're properly trained, your license, all that. I was like, but it's like, if you're a teacher, you're not getting retrained and you're not using it every day, so you're losing it, much like martial arts. Like, if you're doing Krav Maga for 6 months, that doesn't mean you're a lethal weapon. That means if somebody grabs you in a certain position.
I'd like to back up with what you're saying with a study that took place with the NYPD last year, where their target accuracy was measured. And these are trained.
Oh, yeah.
Trained people.
I saw this.
Their accuracy is 18%.
Yeah.
18%. Like, these are professionals that are trained every day and are holding a gun all the time. And they're accurate. Like, what you want? Like, what your goal?
Dismal.
Like, your goal here is like, okay, so we're going to give Miss Wagner a gun to make sure that she's safe. That way, if a shooter comes in, she can shoot the shooter and protect the kids. That's the goal, right? So a professional, and this is like, and I don't know, I'm sure that the numbers would be different in other places, but how different could they possibly be?
This is a normal school, not a spy school.
No, this is like, the NYPD accuracy is 18%. So, like, mine is going to be, like, pretty, and I'm terrified, and I never hold a gun. Like, that's not,
here's the other thing. You probably are not going to have it loaded.
Nope.
You can't sit in a classroom with children with a loaded gun.
Again, another comedian, Bill Burr, made a joke about, he was in Atlanta, and he was like, I'm thinking about getting a gun. And then he paused. He was like, I love being down here. When I make that statement, everybody doesn't boo me for that. And then he says, and I'm thinking about getting I don't know how much y'all know about guns, but he's like, I'm thinking about getting a 22. And then everybody's like, oh, because it's not like a big, manly 45. He's like, no, because when you shoot, you don't have ear protection. You're going to make yourself deaf, and you're not going to be able to see straight. Whereas like but it's a funny bit. Okay. It's a funny bit.
I'll take your word for it.
But it's a funny bit. So much like gun. Here's God. This segue is.
I'm ready.
I mean, this is.
Do it.
Much like that in Krav Maga, I'm sure if you get out of dance for a while, it makes you. It's harder to get back into it.
I love it. We get a lot of people that come to a class and they start the class, and this happens. This happens at Circle and Momentum, and like Brynn already knew what I was going to say because this happens all the time. They say sorry to us.
Apologize
when we teach class. They'll walk in. No,
sorry.
They'll walk in and say. Like, I'll be like, oh, hey, you can just sign it. We got a little waiver for you. Sign blah, blah, blah. And get them started with their stuff. And I just want to apologize because I used to dance when I was a kid, but it's going to be real. Like, what other type of like class do people walk into and just like immediately apologize to the instructor? But
I haven't done pottery in so many years.
This happens.
I'm sorry for what I'm about to make.
All the time.
All the time.
Like all the time that people walk into our classes and like say sorry to us for not. And these are adult modern, not for a show. You're not at an audition.
Literally
like,
nobody's judging you. Nobody's
judging you. You just came to take a dance class. But this happens all the time because people think that they are like not worthy of a studio or like shouldn't be. And I just want to shout out to probably no one's still listening because it's been a really long time. But if you are, you can come. You're all welcome. You're all welcome. Everybody's welcome. All ability levels, all experience levels. If you've never ever danced before, if you danced one time when you were 5 and you're trying again, like we want, like everybody wants you in.
Yeah.
Like the dance community in Knoxville is so welcoming. Yeah. And the adult dance community, I'm going to speak for it that way. Like if you are going to like Black Pants Girl or Catherine Slowburn or Momentum or Circle or any of those places, like they're going to be inviting. But it is so scary.
And we
to
refer
be
to
out
each
of
other
shape
all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
That like if somebody doesn't like feel like they're gonna thrive at a momentum class, I say like you should go try Circle. Yeah,
very much.
Or
so.
if they're like I'm really looking for more jazz, I send them to Catherine.
Yeah, or like I'm really looking for more hip hop. Like try the street beats thing like that. It's good that we serve different
Could it be that people aren't comfortable in their own skin and they know they're going to be put a spotlight
and it's
on
very
them a little
vulnerable
bit?
because it's full body. And it's the one where you see the instructor being like so much smoother than you think you are. And so you're like, oh,
this is me. I am too self-aware. I'm too uncomfortable in my own skin.
But but you're not performing like that. You're dancing to
this
feel.
This is a class for you. That the class itself does not need to be performative.
Also, that's how you get better. So like that's how you go to practice. Yeah. Like,
you didn't just
show up on everybody. Like, sorry, it takes a really long time to get almost like not sucking. Like
it does. I took a year off dance when I was 18 years old. I had been in a company. It had become a really negative space for me emotionally. And I left that company. I took a year off of dancing completely so I could come back and kind of do it because I wanted to.
Reset.
I had to reclaim dance for myself in a positive way that was fulfilling for my soul rather than the sort of like toxic thing it had become for me. And I mean, I did other things during that year, but coming back was like, I haven't done a thing. I haven't been exercising the way I should have, like all these things, and that I'm I don't know, everybody's story is different, but I had been dancing intensely for long enough that a year off didn't really. If I wanted to go and be a professional dancer, that would have screwed me. But the way that I'm doing it, I dance because I like dancing, and I'm good enough to perform sometimes. And I'm qualified to teach and all of these things, that it didn't affect me that much.
Right.
I did have to work to get some stuff back. But I worked and got the stuff back.
It is amazing how much these things come back to your body really quickly.
I was going to say, but you've been doing it since you were a kid. Since you came to it later, do you think you would have a harder time if you took like a year off?
Well, I did a lot of dance throughout color guard. Like there's like I did some, so I got
You're
a lot of
physical person. Like you are based in movement.
Athlete.
Yeah, I've always been like I've always been pretty comfortable with fitness stuff, and so that helps a lot.
Yeah.
But then that's a different goal set too. Like I stated earlier, a big part of me staying in it is the fact that I really like being active, and the dance like tricks me into working out. Like
it does. I concur.
Yeah, you just like don't. I mean, if I ran like 3 miles, I'd just be bored and mad and sweaty and grow. And so I can stay fit with classes and just kind of be like tricked because you're learning. So you focus on that. So if you're going for that, then it's very easy to see how that can be very frustrating because you can't do some of the things you're being asked to do. But this is where I think that Circle has a really special place because it's not necessarily about the fitness there. It's very much about like the postmodern movement of like expressing yourself through movement and like telling these stories. And a lot of them use like text in their pieces, like speaking during a piece, which is something that I am like always very nervous about. Like I'm not very, Nate's the master of that, but I'm just not. There's a place for movement, and it just depends like for every person, but it depends on your goal set. And I think that a lot of the apologies probably come a little more in momentum, like where they're coming into like a more, because it's
ours
more
is not
advanced class.
Yeah, it's a slightly more advanced class that is not an open level, that you're going to have a better time in a momentum class if you have some dance experience.
But if your goal is to do like improv and storytelling and do those things a little bit more, then you can find that as well. That also exists. And if you're looking to feel more comfortable like in like your sexuality, like there's classes for that too. Like if you did tap when you were little and really missed it and thought that was fun, there's some of those around as well. Yeah. Like that, we've got a lot of good stuff going on.
I'm trying to find that pin
in
going
from
sexuality to tap.
Well, I'm just thinking of like the different. I'm thinking like so it's a Tuesday. We're talking on a Tuesday. If I want to take a class tonight,
going up.
There's 3 or 4 I could take tonight, and there's probably 2 that I can think of that I could take tomorrow. I know there's 3 or 4 I'm thinking of classes I could take in the next week here in the city. Yeah. And they're all of those things. Like that, like I could go get that.
It's kind of like yoga. Like yoga is so Whereas it used to be more of a niche, and now it's so prevalent.
Yeah, now you're like, which studio's closest to my house?
Yeah.
That.
Or which instructor do I like the most?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a huge thing in the Knoxville community too. Like people will follow like a certain instructor, or they'll go for a specific style. And like that's the cool thing, is that those things are out there. Like that there is, I have actually kind of lamented this a little bit before. I wish there was like a comprehensive maybe website that
we've talked about doing this project
is like
before.
kind of my like dream project that maybe someday when I don't have any.
You only knew a web
I
person.
wish, like there's like, if there was like a Knoxville dance community like calendar or like descriptions
like
of all the different companies,
dance.
because we know about every company. Like
That's
I know
not
about
arts and culture in general. That is just like
Just Dance. This is kind of like my dream project
we'll talk
that I'd
more
love to do.
about this off mic, because I have questions now.
I have thoughts, because
Okay.
I Googled dance and adult dance Knoxville. And first of all, adult dance is a hard thing to Google anyway, because
you
now
can't-
it's like
when you say I am the president of an adult dance company, and like I don't want to say a modern dance company anymore, because like we're doing some other stuff too. That sounds like we're stripping.
Oh, do you get that? Like, is Aria a dancer? Will you dance?
And also, if somebody doesn't know what modern dance is, they say
also-
modern dance are like,
People
is
are the
that like
worst.
exotic
They
dancing?
really like that.
Like-
People will say like they associate dancing
it.
with stripping like a lot.
And going back to like how the city has grown, the
Yeah.
fact that there is a pole dancing venue in the old city.
That's
and
right.
it's down there.
They're
and it
doing
seems to
some
be
good stuff in there.
thriving.
People
It's
love
like,
it.
I was like,
One of
what
our past momentum dancers takes classes down there. Shout out to Sammy.
She does like Lyra.
She's
She's awesome,
stunning.
man. That's a great. I mean, dude, you want some fitness? Like that will.
Yeah.
They are in. If you get to the level where you are doing everything that an instructor in those classes is asking you to do, then your ass is fit. Like they are. Like they are working out
So
in there.
I did the aerial art. So
Mm-hmm.
again, Dale and Sean have a thing at their space, the Central Collective, called Good Sport Night. You
Mm-hmm.
just buy a ticket. You don't know what it is. So so they did like metal work this last one. They've done pottery.
I want to go to this.
Yeah,
we want to
we're
go.
going.
Can you give us more?
We're going.
But my thought is, or we did one with the aerial dragonfly.
Yeah.
Aerial
Yes.
arts. Holy shit! Did I
So
hurt
good.
the next day?
They're so
And there were. I
Kill
literally
it.
walked up and I was like, "How strong is this? I'm a
Very
big ass-
strong.
I'm a
There's-
big ass.
They got you.
They're very
They got
strong.
you. They
I
are
am-
made to hold humans.
I know.
multiple.
I am a
Multiple
massive-
humans.
Yeah.
Like those can hold
I am multiple
It's
humans.
like redundancy.
That's
Well, there
my
you go.
album title.
I am multiple humans.
All
30
Geminis everywhere.
30 me's. 30 versions.
Yeah.
He killed 30 me's.
But yeah, the workout there was insane.
it's awesome.
It was insane.
I dig it. It's just cool that there's that many different places. So
But
that's
yes,
kind of my
let's-
dream
let's
project.
talk
Like
about
I,
the website.
I wish
Let's talk
that
about the
Googling Dance Knoxville brought up, because we know, I can name you the 10 places you can go in the next week, but the average like person that's not in the
Studios
dance
come up when you
community,
do that.
yeah, it comes up with kid studios, which is
Kids
so
studios
frustrating
is
because
what you see.
a lot
if
of
you knew
studios.
someone who knew SEO that could probably help with
Search
this.
engine optimization.
yeah,
on there.
I'm waving.
Let's talk.
Yeah,
Let's get a
I'm-
grant. Let's
yeah.
make it.
Because I've tried to do this in the past before with doing doing that for music. Mm-hmm. I think we really need a but in doing
That would be
that-
so hard. There's so much music in town.
And you know what the pain in the ass about that is? I'm gonna use Barley's, even though Barley's didn't like this. They don't care about me trying to help them with something like that. They'll never email me a calendar. I literally put it when the first time I did it, I was like, or second time I tried, I said on this date.
No, it couldn't be venues. It would have to be the artists like getting it.
I said on this date of every week, just email me what is going on the next 2 weeks, and no one would do it.
No.
And I was like, I am literally building and paying money
Yeah.
to drive business to you.
Yeah.
For you to once a week, which you already have account. Nope. I just had to open every single venue that I could on tabs and copy and paste to where it just got too time prohibitive.
No, don't.
But
do that.
it's a lot less open and willing to put in a modicum of work.
I think the
You
whole
know what I
dance.
mean?
We
For
need
the
help.
dance.
One of
For
the
the
reasons,
dance, like,
one of the reasons that I feel really strongly about this is because I feel like the backing is there. Like I feel like
Yeah.
this is an untapped thing that I would really
y'all are
like
ready,
to do.
willing,
Like,
and able.
well, and I just am thinking of like the 5 or 6 people that I know that are in charge of stuff and like having their own classes and doing whatever.
Dancers
like
just want to
they
share. Dance
want
has
to
be
help each other.
collective and community. Like nobody. I mean, I'm not going to say nobody. Most people dance in a class setting,
Yeah.
in a group setting.
Yeah.
It's a community builder.
Oh, it's a very good
and
thing,
like you can dance around your room all you want, but most people don't find that to be the same
Wow.
thing. And that in order to like you have to be community driven to want to make dance happen.
Not to bring it back to yoga, but I've got friends that are really into yoga, and they're like, "Yeah, I can do it at home,
Yeah.
but I like going."
It's nice to go.
They're
It's
like,
nice to have
and if
people.
nothing else, I'll do it at home for a little bit, but then I have to go in and reset because I
Yeah.
need to be around people,
Yeah.
and I need that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
I need that community.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all ever thought about taking, or has anybody taken like improv classes?
Oh,
I
yeah,
teach
totally.
improv class.
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circle used to offer it. But the last they cut it a year and a half ago or something like that.
It's not popular.
But yeah, you
not
can't.
improv
It's not.
dance, like improv, like
Well, the
Einstein
like.
Simplified is a
Sure.
example.
Yeah.
know what that is.
There was. Well, I did the improv piece in December with Nate, and he ran it like that way a lot, where it was like speaking, and we moved as we were speaking.
Yeah.
But it's very like speaking based, and the improv class that Circle offered dealt with both of those pieces, like not necessarily just like improving with each other verbally, but doing both movement and adding, particularly like when Angela Hill was teaching some of the classes, like she's really into text in pieces. Like she did an awesome job, and Nate, of course, too, down with the speaking. So
But
taking a
like
little bit.
improv comedy, like Groundlings in
Oh,
LA,
nah.
stuff like
Nah.
that, because they do a lot of, here I know a term, space work.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, well, would that help improve like
Oh,
your
I think it
comfortability?
totally does,
Your
yeah.
comfortability.
Well,
but
and-
there's a version of that within dance. Okay.
Yeah, I teach a movement improv class specifically for I teach at a studio called Riversong Dance Studio, and I teach a class that has I think like 5 students. 5 of the sort of the more dedicated students tend to take my class because they just want to dance and they want to be dancing all the time. And they want to learn all the different things.
Okay.
And a lot of times, if you want to audition for companies or kind of anything, they'll have you improv so they can see how comfortable you are just going.
Okay.
And so it's like an actually like tangible skill, and because they're dancers and also because they're teenagers in this
okay.
particular group,
Yeah.
they will not talk. Like they are like I have to remind them to breathe because they're concerned you can hear them breathe. Like they're so self-conscious. And now that I've had them for over a year, like we've been doing this improv class for more than a year, I've had the same students. Like they've grown so much and they've become so much more comfortable in the sort of experience of groundlessness. And I'm like, just go. And if I had done that in the first class, they would have cried. Like, and that's not like literal tears, Sarah. You know.
Yeah.
But. Now I can tell them just go, and I've started incorporating some words and some meaning, like what you guys do. And but I had to have them work up to that, or it would not have happened.
When I learned Photoshop in college, the first week of classes, the instructor was like, it was the opposite. He was like, just play around. He's like, that's how you're going to learn.
Yeah. Well, that's
you're never going to learn if I give you strict rules.
Yeah.
It's the
because then you don't quite
understand.
understand. Yeah, I getcha.
I really liked the little mini workshops that Nate did with us moving into that piece we did in December, and it like our comfortability with each other is what really built that, because we could improv and move forever. I mean, like that we were all really comfortable being able to do that. Like we could dance around until we died, but talking to each other and then moving in a way that was intentional with each other, that it didn't just look like 4 people doing it. Like that took a lot, like just 4 people doing 4 different little solos.
Dancing together
in an improv set was something that was really difficult for me, but with a lot of practice together, like it helped a lot. And like providing structure and providing some rules, but then giving a lot of space to try out and play in those rules was super cool. And the same way, you just had to learn, like we had to practice, and it was a skill I didn't have at all. that Nate and Darby definitely had, and Laura and I were kind of like learning a bit with it, and it ended up being so cool and just a totally different way of doing.
That's a lot
pieces.
of thing in design of like a bowling. Like sometimes if you put those bumpers on, it helps you get to the place, as opposed to if you just get free reign. It's like, shit, I don't know where to start.
Where I talked a lot with my teenagers about like the fear of freedom. That if I just say go dance,
Fear of choice.
they don't. They freeze. It's too much, and so I started off giving them very specific prompts.
Well, and people just do old choreography too, and
They
I
do.
find myself being really bored by that. That I'll like do something that was like, oh, that was just like 30 seconds of a piece I did last year, and that's super boring. And so if somebody provides a structure, like, okay, for this minute, be very heavy, go. You were in a dance.
I was in a dance to that song.
Do you
you're
know?
pulling up.
Do you know this dancer? Yeah, I think it's the
Johann Borges?
Bourgeois. Isn't that bourgeois?
Bourgeois?
But this, I am not. Again,
Bougie.
I am not a dancer, but I am fascinated
Yo.
by shit like this.
he-
Like this. I also
falling.
love Claire de Lune.
He's
Oh,
falling
like
down.
It's almost like see, I would almost
installation-based movement.
I would almost call this like performance art.
Well, and that a
Well,
lot
the
of like
overlap of dance and performance art
a lot of
is-
like postmodern, and like, you know, in what way is dance not performance art?
Yeah.
You are performing art. So like there's like Brynn says, genre is
a fallacy,
a fallacy.
just like gender.
and
I'm-
creating more, like, this is just a really interesting for anyone that can't see. It's a guy falling on a trampoline up and downstairs.
If you search
I do love stuff
Claire
like
de
this.
Lune,
No, it's awesome.
If you search piano and dance, it's Alexandre Therard. But I look at something like
Johann Bourgeois.
I also look at something like this. I was like, this is 3 artists.
The musician, the space, and the dancer,
No.
and the videographer, and the lighting designer, and
Well, I'm thinking of like the director, because I feel like also the director had a vision to get Johann to do something. Like I understand like set design and lighting design, but I was like, this is a mixture of 3 major or many major arts, but 3 major arts. Because I also look at something like this and I wonder how much he had to say about set design and lighting design.
yeah. Well, and
Also, that's black and white, and it's very stark.
it's black and white, and there was just some videography play. Like he just went into slow mo for a second. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, no.
No, he was actually moving.
This
that
is
slow.
all, I think, just multiple cameras. Like he does that.
Yeah.
Like this, I've watched this way too many
It's
damn
stunning.
times. Yeah.
That's a really beautiful.
But
piece.
would you consider, so what did you call this?
Like performance art, dance,
I thought yeah,
installation.
installation.
Well,
I would call
there's-
that an installation because it's site specific.
So site specific dance is a whole like
I would
genre into itself.
Yeah.
Like New Dialect 2 or 3 years ago did they're a dance company in Nashville. Like they did a thing called the Cheekwood installation. So they went to like it's basically like a park. There's a really, really big, beautiful old tree and like a pond. And so all of their pieces that they did, this was a full evening length thing, was all pieces that were specific to being performed in that park. And so like we're meant to be in that space. And so, you could do that here in your house like that. You could do a
Right.
site specific here where we could be making a piece that was designed around, like meant to be in this space.
Some people do that like on a different level of like in art in public, like Market Square or something. They'll do
Momentum
Like-
did one of those with the art in Crutch Park
really
once,
and
where
like
we like made an improv that was set to go like from piece to piece. It was a couple years ago. It was a while ago.
I wasn't in that.
No, that was before Ashley.
not to pimp myself for Primitive Light 2019. We need to think about like in the fall when the leaves are changing, doing photographs with the art in public places.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
But I think we would have to get rights from Dogwood Arts from
Yeah,
the
you gotta
artist
work
to
with them.
use
The name.
those pieces.
totes.
I'm friends with everybody at Dogwood Arts. I think we can make this
Hook us up.
happen.
I think we can make this.
I'm
happen.
down.
I think that'd be interesting.
We
Damn
did
it.
pay you with a grant, so we'd have to get another grant.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna just.
I'm not sure we could pay you.
Um,
Do you like work. It'll be good for your portfolio.
No.
Oh, no.
No. When people say that to me,
Brynn's a photographer in the mouth.
I get butt hurt.
I don't know where my pen went.
Yeah.
I want to say something off air.
Okay.
Off mic.
Okay.
Because I also don't want to ruin it. I have a Sharpie.
It's hilarious.
That's too big of a Sharpie.
He fell down. Beautiful dance. Shen Yun advertising has to cost $1 million.
Jesus.
They're everywhere. Everywhere.
To
talk about Shannon.
go back to pre on the mic discussion, did you know they are a cult?
Shen Yun?
Yes.
Chinese dance does not surprise me as being
You
cult-like.
should listen to the Cults podcast where Dale talks about that in length about Shen Yun.
Well, I wasn't going to go anyway, but I'm definitely not now.
It's like $1,000.
It's like the tickets are like $150.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're so expensive.
I bitch about Broadway shows being like $95.
I think it's like more than that, man. Like it's a lot.
I
I
get
think
it
those
was
might be
set-
the bad tickets.
Oh. Well, hell, I bitch about every show at the Tennessee now. I can't go see Jason Isbell for less than $80, which I saw him
Dang.
for free in the bottom of the well at one point. Like,
Dang.
yeah. But everybody needs to get paid.
I mean, yeah.
Gotta
we'll,
get paid.
We'll circle around for an end.
Mm-hmm.
We'll in that circle we'll have a lot of momentum.
Stunning.
That's my arm hurts from stretching. What's the general? Is there a general age range or for modern dance? No.
I would say that most people that are like doing what we're doing are between 20 and 40. Like they're like active, but I would say that any, particularly like at Circle, any age can come. And it really momentum too if they want any, like a lot of places would take any age, which is fine.
Like young and old.
We get
Anybody can come to classes. I think we just recently reinstated. Or not reinstated. We just recently made a rule that you needed to be. I think you have to be able to drive yourself to rehearsal. Like we are.
okay.
We say we're an adult modern dance company. Like we don't do a lot of children, and I think we might have just moved it to 18.
It's also like a non-issue because
Yeah. We
children
don't
go
get
to
a ton of money.
studios.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
they'll just go to
children
like
have so many opportunities and options to dance in Knoxville. Adults do not, and that's why we're here.
And so
Okay.
it's generally adults that rock in our world. But
Yeah.
Do you see any older people getting into it, like they get into Tai Chi or yoga as a fitness regimen?
Yeah, totally. I think particularly there is an amazing choreographer and just all around awesome woman named Deborah Whalen who rocks a twice a week class based in like La Bombardinia fundamentals, which is just a modern thing. And she attracts like a whole lot of like former dancers that are like
Air
outside.
quotes around former because they're still dancing.
Oh yeah,
Like, if
that's
you're
what I
going to
mean.
Debbie's
Yeah, I'm
classes,
sorry,
you
I
still a
misspoke
dancer.
there. Like that's,
Yeah.
I just mean like people that are getting back into it generally take to her class super well, and also she's just a really, really brilliant teacher that's
is.
doing.
She was
Okay.
my mom's teacher
Yeah,
Nice.
she's fantastic, and
at
so
Penn State.
Really?
Yeah.
And she's here now.
Right? Yeah.
That's wild. Okay. It all comes back around. All right. Well, thank you all for doing this.
of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.